Hello everybody and welcome to a very special tank tour from Reefing Royalty. Now some people do use the term Reefing Royalty and it's absolute bollocks, but this guy is actual Reefing Royalty because he's a really nice guy, he's an exceptional reefer and the content he pumps out is just incredible. My favourite YouTuber, hands down. Anyway, so we're here for a little tank tour of Sam's system today. So Sam, I'm going to spotlight you. And
spotlight me.
Here we go.
There he is.
Wow.
Wow, I'm still getting over that intro. That was something special.
Well, it's I actually do mean it. I'm a liar in real life, but not on YouTube.
And it's all downhill from here.
Yes, it is.
I think that was
I would say I'm far from royalty, but no, I appreciate the kind words nonetheless.
Well, I really appreciate what you're doing for the community on YouTube. Your videos are such high quality. And I think normally people over the years, the quality kind of starts to drop and maybe people kind of lose steam. You just keep going. So, no, it's appreciated.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things you just, I can completely understand how people, particularly on YouTube, can fade off after time. It can become a bit of a grind to particularly to keep some consistency and pump those videos out each and every week. But there's a lot of reward to it too. So you just got to push through and keep that train moving.
Well, you're doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good videos.
So, how did you get started in reefing?
Yeah. It's a funny question because normally I tell people that I'd never had a freshwater tank. I went straight into reefing, which is technically not 100% true. I did have a freshwater tank of about 9 litres in capacity for about 2 months. My brother-in-law became a manager of just one of those sort of like big box pet stores just about a block from where I live. And it was a new store, and on the grand opening, we went there just to support him and do whatever you do. And we bought a little, all-in-one fish, like a Betta, sort of set up a little fighting fish tank. And we had that on our kitchen bench, and we sort of had breakfast next to the tank, and we fell in love with it. We named the fish and started enjoying it. And as I tend to do in all of my hobbies, I was like, all right, well, this is good. Let's go all out. I want to build a big custom fish tank. Let's go to some, with all due respect to my brother-in-law, some proper aquarium stores, ones that just sell fish. They don't sell cat food, dog food, and rabbit hutches and things. So we went to a couple of aquariums, and as soon as we saw marine, I was definitely sold, and decided that was it. I wanted to go big custom marine system. I did take a little short intermission before building the custom system. I did think, once I did a little bit of research and realized that people say it can be quite difficult and also can be quite expensive, I thought I'd just dip my toe in the water and try a second-hand, it was a Red Sea Max 130 that I found online, which I look back now and laugh, like there's no way known I'd ever buy a second-hand tank in that condition now. But I did then, and that was enough for me to play with for probably about 6 or 7 months, just to prove to myself more than anything that I could do this hobby. And then I started planning a custom build from there.
That's quite an accelerated, like going from what I would call a bottle of cider in the UK,
yes, pretty much,
liters tank, to that Red Sea, to then a custom. But your story is almost identical to mine. I tell people I did.
Yeah, well, yeah, it should be that surprising then.
I did. But I only had it for like 2 months and was like, this is so boring. Shut it down, salt. But that was all based on advice from all of my friends who were all tropical tanks, and they said, nah, you don't want salt, far too hard.
Yep. Is that Red Sea tank the one you had set up for years? And this is
it sure is, yeah. That is the tank. I kept it running for a long time. I only just shut it down recently, probably maybe about was going to say 6 months, but it could be 10 months now. Shut it down and gave it away to a local guy to hopefully start that journey again.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? That tank must be
one of those
12 years old or something.
Oh, it'd be. It was with me for 10 years, and I felt like when I got it, it was nearly 10 years old. It was pretty scratched and damaged. I had to do a bit of reconstruction work to the cabinet that it came on, just to try and keep that alive a little bit longer. But it was one of those old tanks that had the one-piece curved front glass.
I was about to ask, was it the curved glass and the plastic lid with the T5s inside it?
Absolutely was. Yeah.
Like an oven.
Replace it twice a year.
Those things are I did actually strip the 130 litre had the power compact, so probably worse than T5s to be honest, but power compact bulbs in it. I stripped them out and put some LEDs in pretty early on, but the tank was, it was an apt name. It was built like a tank. Those things, I feel like you could drop it on the ground and pick it up and it'd still hold water. They're ridiculously strong.
Well, Sam, I have dropped one and it did survive.
I was yeah, it's not something I'd recommend, but
it was an accident. It was an accident. It wasn't a test.
Glad to hear.
Yeah, so you Jen jumped into custom.
Yeah, I in my journey of looking around at aquarium stores and some of the tanks out there, I sort of had a space in mind, which is ironically where this tank is here, where I wanted to put the tank. And this is going back a few years, and custom wasn't quite as expensive as custom is now. And in fact, you could build a custom system to your sort of size and your fit and finish and everything you sort of want, for really no more, if anything, sometimes less money than some of the off-the-shelf systems, which seems sort of foreign now, but back then it wasn't that far of a stretch. And just when, I really started getting into the hobby and deciding I was going to go custom, I pretty much went to every fish shop in my state over the course of 3 or 4 weeks and just sort of chatted to the staff and got a feel for who I was going to gel with and where I was going to make my local fish shop. And once I found a store, started talking with them, and they were on the same sort of page I was of plans for a custom tank and some nifty things we could do, and it just sort of snowballed from there. Is
it quite a wide choice of builders for custom tanks for you? Because over here it's like a minefield.
These days, not as much. I think there's 2 or 3 custom builders I know of in Victoria, in the state where I live. There's probably another 9 or 10 dozen in the country, but there's another handful I know in other places in the country. I think a lot of them probably stopped due to the competitive price of imported tanks now.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Put a squeeze on it.
All the tanks you have in Australia. So somebody said not that long ago that we're no longer importing. Is it water box or is it cage? Which is the one that's not coming?
Water box. You're not getting any more.
Orthodox, yeah.
No more water box.
Yeah, I've no idea why. I quite like them.
Into the UK?
Yes, well, that's what I've been told, Sam. I'm not entirely sure if it's completely true.
No, fair enough. Yeah.
I certainly don't see them for sale. That's for sure.
No.
Interesting. What sort of tanks do you guys carry over there? Are you?
Reds.
If you go into a shop,
the monopoly here, that's for sure.
Yes, a big slice of the pie, Reds.
Yes.
D&D. I don't know if you're familiar with D&D.
Yes, I am. Yep. I didn't know they made tanks, to be honest, but I am familiar with the brand. Yep.
Nios.
Yes. Oh, yeah, same. Yeah, Nios. We get Nios branded equipment here, but not a lot of Nios tanks, to be fair.
That's what Tom's got.
Nios have got that blue background on their new tanks.
Okay.
It looks really nice.
I do quite like the blue background.
Something different.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, that's what my big system in the shop is. Anyway, so you then went custom, Sam. Talk us through that.
Yeah. So I decided back then when I've gone, from a 9 litre a bottle of cider, I think it was described as, to a what was probably a 8 or 10-year-old scratched to the absolute max secondhand Red Sea Max tank at about 100, 130 litres. the concept or the thought of going to I think it was about a 900 liter 6x2x2. I think it was 6x2.5 actually. System sounded like the biggest thing, like sounded like public aquarium style tank. So I was like, yep, that's what I want. One of those, brand new, custom made. It's Sump designed to my specs and all the equipment I want and everything, without knowing any of the specs I actually needed or the equipment I needed, but putting a lot of faith in that local fish shop. The system came together, and I had a lot of helping hand, both equipment wise, but also just ecosystem wise, I guess you'd say, from those in the community, and obviously that local fish shop as well that just sort of guided me through it. And that system was the tank I had in this spot here before this one, and it was in there for 7 years, and I shut it down before things turned bad. A lot of people questioned if I probably shut it down too early. The tank was really looking pretty spectacular, but I wanted to keep it like that. I didn't want it to sort of get that old tank syndrome or split a seam or have some sort of catastrophic failure. There were a number of things across those 7 years that I wanted to change. The hobby had evolved a little bit, and a few things I just wanted to tackle differently. So the opportunity came when my wife said that she wanted to change the floors in this room we're in here, which is open kitchen, sort of dining, living, all one area. She wanted to change the floors, and she only had to say, if you want to change the tank, now's the time to do it. And that was when the the blueprints came out and the design process started. So.
Superb. Your story is so similar to mine, because I went from almost that same tank to a 7x2x2. Which is the one that's in the shop just now, and I thought, this is the biggest tank ever. I'm never going to outgrow this or ever need another tank again.
It's crazy how the hobby goes. I remember with that 100-liter tank or 130-liter tank, after buying like some of my first corals and maybe a fish, I was driving back from the fish shop, and I think I'd spent like $200 Australian, which is not a lot. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this is getting a bit out of hand. Like, just pump the brakes a little bit. Like, this is a fish tank you're spending.
Calm down, son.
Yeah, you're spending probably a little too much money on this. Like, I know in myself, I get very excited with my hobbies, and I do go all in on them. But I was like, just don't be silly. And I look back now and go, that was like buying a piece of Xenia and a lawnmower Blenny or something, and thinking that was over the top.
You wouldn't blink at it nowadays. $200.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So you then started the process of dreaming up your next fish tank, which is the monster behind you.
This one behind me, ironically, it's not that much. I guess volume-wise, it is bigger. The position and stance it has in the room is not that much bigger than the last tank, because it is in the same position, and I am pretty much tied by a wall there and a hallway there. So I couldn't really go exceptionally bigger, but it was more just some of the logistics around the tank that I really wanted to change. Some of the things that I wouldn't say they were designed wrong on the last tank, but just things that I found were frustrating or a hassle, or I didn't like the way they functioned. I wanted to change them. So I wanted to make sure I didn't repeat mistakes. I wanted to make sure that, the 7 years of the last tank went well, but there was things I'd do differently. So let's do them differently this time.
So what were some of those mistakes, if you don't mind talking about it?
Yeah.
Was there some that are like stand out? Yeah, I hated that.
The number one thing that I was most excited to change on this tank was the material that the stand was made out of. My last tank was a timber stand, and to be fair, it was a high quality timber stand. The fit and finish was very, very nice on it, but it's still a timber stand, and on a 7-year-old reef tank that, in the hands of someone that had only been in reefing when I first got it for a couple of months,
sloppy with the water.
Had seen, a little exposure to water here and there. It had swollen in places, and it, sort of started to rot, and it just didn't exude the quality that I wanted it to exude. So replacing the stand on this system, it's a extruded aluminium stand. That was something that I was absolutely non-negotiable on. I had to have extruded aluminium stand, and it's something that I still to this day think almost every stand should be built that way. It's incredible.
It's
Yeah.
definitely
Congratulations on saying aluminium as well. Not that stupid, whatever they call it in the
Aluminum.
States.
Aluminum.
Yeah.
behave yourselves.
But honestly, I remember your old tank, Sam, and I remember that beautiful big green Dallas, and like that was the
Beautiful.
standout that everybody knew your tank by was this green
Yes.
Dallas. So,
Yeah.
And
like
the irony.
this tank is stunning, and like now it's a Dustin's cousin that stands out, and
It's in about the same position.
I'm still
it's funny you
trying to
mentioned
get
the Dallas.
some.
We'll
But
get
yeah,
some to you eventually.
well,
I
did get
we
that
talked about
frag,
some
but
of
it
the.
died overnight.
Oh, that's no good.
It was just
Talking about the Dallas, it's not just some of the things that didn't go perfectly on the last tank that I wanted to change on this tank. Some of the things that did work really well, i.e. the Dallas, I wanted to change on this tank. I didn't want to put any Dallas in this tank at all.
Yep.
And people think that's because I don't like Dallas. It's far from it. It's one of my favorite corals. But I made
Been there,
the
done
conscious
that.
decision, of if I stripped down a tank that wasn't failing in any way, it looked incredible. It was absolutely full of life. If I stripped it down, put a brand new tank that's only marginally bigger, seems marginally bigger. It's about 50% bigger, but doesn't actually seem like that when you're looking at it, in the same spot and spend months cycling it, setting it all up, and I put the same corals back in there. It's going to be a huge amount of time and money and effort to just replicate the same tank I had. So
Yeah.
I decided, as much as I love Dallas, I'm not going to put any in this tank at all. And I tell you what, that's one thing that every time I see a frag available somewhere, I have to hold myself back. I absolutely love that green stag. It's gorgeous.
I've got a piece up here for you whenever you're ready.
No, there's a dozen pieces. I spent all day at my local fish shop today helping out, and there's a dozen nicely encrusted frags there, and it looks beautiful, but I left them there.
Melinda's like some sort of weird drug dealer, knowing that you've got an addiction. She's like, I've got some for you.
Yeah.
You want it? It's free.
You want it. Yeah. It's in the post.
All
Dallas is
Australian
beautiful.
reefers have a piece of Dallas in the corner of their tank somewhere,
Well,
except for Sam.
it's funny you say that. Back when I had it, yes, everyone did have it. And the number of hardcore reefers that would come over and look at my tank and go, oh, you got to strip that Dallas out. That's as common as chicken feed. Get it out and put something fancy in there. And I'm like, no, it's my favorite coral. I love it.
Yeah.
In the years after that, like in the time that this tank's been running, Dallas became a scarcity for a while. No one had any of it. And it blew my mind. Like, I used to give 100 frags away a week of it because it was massive in this tank, and I just had to keep breaking it back. Where now, like at our local fish shop, frags are like $60 each, but Dallas it's a rarity, and it blows my mind because it grows so fast.
I guess that's that trends in the hobby, though, isn't it? Where people go, it's a common, so no one wants it, and then it becomes
Spot
rare,
on.
and then all of a sudden people want it. It's just,
Yeah. Doesn't make any
Dallas?
sense, does it?
No.
Dallas in Australia is like the American barley green slimer.
Yep.
Beautiful,
Right.
just bright
That's
green
interesting.
acro.
Because I've never heard of Dallas until watching Sam and people talking about it. I've never seen one here. And Green Valley Slimer is making a massive comeback here now.
Yeah,
It's
right.
the number one coral I'm getting emailed about from the farm. And I've only got, I'm actually struggling to frag it and grow it quick enough. People are desperate for
Yeah,
it.
wow.
Yeah, weird. Really weird. Because I
I
thought,
just say it's one of those things. It's cycles.
Yeah.
Everyone has it. No one wants it. And no one wants it. No one has it.
Yeah,
Everyone wants
give
it.
it
Find it.
three
Everyone
or
wants
4 years, and everyone's got barley green slimer. It'd be, we got that in your tank.
well, that's just
I
that.
can't give that stuff away. Why would you buy it?
Yeah.
Maybe, hunting for a fraggy purple stylo or something.
Yeah.
Could you
Well, you
imagine?
joke about that.
I've got some
I'd
of
love
that
a bit of
too.
purple stylo. Yeah,
I've got some of that.
nice. I'm more interested in that than the Dallas.
Yeah.
I've gone for
Like a
all of the
stylo.
old frags that I've been trying to get,
Nice.
like Dustin's cousin, like I remember it 8 years ago.
Yes.
Fire truck, Dallas.
Yep.
Yeah, that's Bird's Nest.
Are these
All
real
of those.
names? Fire truck. What?
Yeah, I was like that.
Fire truck Rosaria, yeah.
I mean, I know I'd call it.
Well, yeah, 100%. It sounds like
You
someone
can't have a go at us for our name
Oh,
for
so
one
it's
of
like-
yours about nipples.
Fire truck.
not nipples, it's sugar tits, Melinda.
Sugar
Come
tits,
on.
yes. Yeah.
Well, I was going to call it sugar tips, and I was like, come on, it's one.
Come on, yeah.
One
letter. Yeah. Makes all the difference.
Done.
Yeah. Many more sows with the tits.
The next blue one you've got had better be cold plums.
Cold plum. And here we're slightly going off piece.
Yes. Yes.
As we will.
No
through the
edits
whole
so
thing.
far. None. I'm leaving it all in.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
Who's Dustin then? Just out of is he the man who discovered?
I don't
that
actually
coral?
know. I have no idea where the naming of that came from. Was it Darren Hatfield
I know.
that named it?
Darren Hatfield named it after a frag that was very similar in America. I've forgotten what it was, but yeah, it was Darren that named it. And now they say that kryptonite here is the old Dustin's cousin that they've renamed again.
Well,
But we will see. Because I've got a piece of kryptonite and I'm like,
Dustin's
that's
cousin
Dustin's
is
cousin.
the full name. Dustin's cousin.
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
the
random.
name of
it.
It's a random name.
that's this blue piece here.
Oh,
it was online. It was online why he called it that.
Yeah, he did have something in Reef Builders, I think.
type a bit louder there, Melinda.
Oh, sorry, it's right next to the microphone.
Do you want some fucking hammers?
No, I thought it was a kangaroo passing through or something.
Oh, Rob.
I do have a quiet keyboard, but yes, it's right next to the microphone. And I've got nails.
Yeah.
Any other stereotypical slurs you want to make, Rob?
Oh, I've got plenty.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, let's get started on drop bears shortly.
Oh, so
Okay.
I've got family in Australia. That's what I want.
You got
I'm
what?
not sure that's the law.
That is the law, apparently. Yeah.
Sam.
Miyagi taught.
Yes.
You're-
I'm Miyagi to it.
Oh, sorry, but still talking about
What
corn.
is that? The Dustin's? Is that what it is?
So, hi guys, Dustin's Cousins is a Miyagi taught. In 2012, the closest coral I could find online was Dustin's deepwater acro. But because we're in Australia, obviously it's not Dustin's, so I call it Dustin's cousin.
Okay.
That's it. That's where it came
That's
from.
like it all. Right.
That does make sense.
I
then.
never knew that.
Does look like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And-
very Miyagi tortish. What's strange about it is mine looks blue because I find, well, at least in my tank, if it's getting high light, it's entirely blue. And if it's getting low light, it's pretty green. And if you can get just that balance right, you get blue and green through both of it. But there's no chance in my tank. There is a bit down there
Yep.
growing off the base of the tank, basically, and it's still blue as well.
Still
It's just
blue. Yeah.
too much light.
Yeah.
The base of the big main colony behind the top left of your head actually looks like a
Yes.
leper coral. The way it's kind of like grown. Obviously, it's not moving.
Yeah. No, it's got those
Very still
processes. Yeah. Yeah.
Just, can you talk us through, like, from inception to putting water in it? How did you decide
Yes.
on dimensions other than the wall in the hallway?
Yeah, I mean that was effectively it. The hole on the wall, sorry, the wall and the hallway, and then as far out this way as I could go without taking too
divorce.
much of the piss. It's pretty much it.
So do you call that width or depth?
So I call that width. I
Yep.
call that way depth, and that way height.
Okay. Yeah,
That's my
there's a bit of an
air
argument
traffic control
going
for the
on
day.
on ReefyAF at the moment about the term depth. Yeah.
Deep.
Yeah.
Deep.
Just the
How
term deep. Yeah.
deep it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a boat,
That
you
makes
actually
sense,
don't go,
but then-
I wonder how high the sea is.
If you're
I'll
on
go
the
across
base,
to that
if
island.
you're on the
in
sand, you probably
deepness.
would.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, how tall is your tank is usually a term I use.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Is that including
Oh,
the
you're
stand?
wrong.
Oh, fuck off.
You're wrong.
You're wrong. Like it. Yeah, so front to back, as big as you can
Yes.
go without marital problems.
Yeah, and I mean, partly that, and I shouldn't blame entirely my wife, because to be fair, she would let me almost fill this room if I convinced her that's what I wanted and it was going to be good.
Put her on the phone. I'll speak to her.
Well, I was going to ask what's in the room behind it. Like, why isn't the sump room behind the tank? So
it's behind the tank is a laundry, and it's not the world's
Who
biggest
needs
laundry.
clean
So
clothes?
yeah, well, I do.
You've got a marquee in the
It's
backyard.
like, good answer, Sam. Yeah,
Wash her
I
out
do.
there.
Yeah.
I'm not visiting Melinda without fucking nose plugs.
Hey.
So the front to back dimension was, I mean, I couldn't really. I do already have some gear through the wall underneath the basin in the laundry, but it was also because I don't have access to the back side of the tank. It's only so far front to back you can go before it becomes really unworkable.
Really
yeah. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to go like a 6x6 tank. I reckon that would look incredible with some massive big fish in there. But the reality is, unless you have access to all four sides, it's probably not a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, but the space you take up in the middle of your living room, you gain against the wall. It's a win-win.
This is true. One of the nicest tanks I saw, and I'm so disappointed that it was before I did videos of people's tanks, was a 6x6 system with a central weir. Had a column in the middle, and all of the power cords went through down the weir and everything. And it was so amazing because it had fish that I haven't seen in people's aquariums before, because they could be so big. They didn't have to turn around. These fish could just keep swimming around and around the weir. And it just gave this incredible, different perspective of reef tanks. It was
just keep swimming.
Yeah, it was impressive. I mean,
nice.
they could turn around, but they didn't have to. They could just keep doing laps around, and you had sort of almost looked like a bikie gang. Like you had the gang leader at the front, and he had sort of like
just cruising around.
4 or 5 offsiders just kind of following in his wake, and they just kept cruising around the tank. It was something special.
That's quite a cool. Yeah, see, I'm not going to forget that now. That's in my head now.
We know what your next tank is.
Well, yeah, it's coming.
Shop display tank.
No,
Beautiful.
we're not going to be moving home now for this foreseeable future. We'd planned on moving house. We can't afford it. So I want another tank at home, but it needs to be workable, and yeah, I'm excited.
It reminds me of one of those model railway sort of dioramas, you know, when the guy just pops up in the middle and he goes all the way. That'll be you in the next tank.
Peekaboo.
That's it. Yeah.
No, one of the local aquariums had one of those domes that you can poke your head up in the middle of the aquarium.
Yes.
With my kids in it on the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah, that'd be good to do.
I just don't like how
But it always gives
the view is.
Exactly. Yeah.
It ruins it.
I've already got glasses that you go through any sort of curved glass, and it makes me feel sick. Everything gets all. I can't handle that.
Just a bubble covered in vomit at the end.
I was
of
about
the
to say, Daddy, what's that under the shark? Well, that's Sam Parker covered in puke.
Straight panes of glass. That's all we need.
Yep. We're doing well here. We're staying on track.
Yes.
Are we though?
No Miranda.
So we've done the front to back thing. What was next for the system in terms of decision?
Getting the important questions out of the way.
Yeah.
So I guess was the aluminium stand was absolutely must have. Worked out the dimensions of the tank, where it was going to go. Worked out. So ironically, this system is a water box. So I got water box to design and quote me on the tank. That was actually fairly straightforward, and I got in at the perfect time. This is all pre-COVID. So shipping, glass, manufacturing, everything is like half the price it is now. It's ridiculous. In such a short time frame, how prices can double or triple. But so I got in lucky there and got this tank at a ridiculously cheap price. Then it was probably one of the biggest design pieces or planning pieces was the sump. I took the opportunity this time to map out every single detail and ensure that it was incorporated on the sump, and to the level of I've got a racetrack sump in the system so I can utilize as much of the real estate as possible. And I lined things up like where the different sections were for the sump. I made sure that they lined up where the uprights of the stand was, so that, you know, if you're trying to pull out your skimmer or something, you're not halfway between an upright of the stand. Each section of the sump lines up perfectly, so you got full access. It gives a clean aesthetic too. A heap of silly details like that don't really need to be factored, but you know, what else are you going to do? You got time to plan these things.
It's all custom made as well, isn't it? Yeah,
exactly.
Enjoyable.
Yeah. That's right.
You don't want a shitty dream reef tank, do you? I mean, you're looking for perfection, personal perfection.
I think the acrylic tray is perfection to me. Every time I see that, I see the acrylic tray and just go, yeah, he thought this out.
I've got to give full credit to my good friend Dave at Deer Park Aquarium. That was his idea. And that was actually a gift from him. He said, I've got something coming for the base of your tank. Don't do anything there. He got it delivered. And I was like, whoa, this is pretty nice. And the way that I gave him the CAD diagram of the stand, so that it's literally just a flat acrylic sheet, but it has probably about 35 mil wall around the outside, and that wall follows exactly the footprint of the inner dimensions of the cabinet, so it goes around the uprights of each leg, like to the millimeter. So you take the top off the stand and you slide it down, and it is perfection.
I'm having a little moment here, just picturing that. No, that is amazing, and I know that Tidal Gardens has these trays underneath every one of his systems and all the unions, and if he needs to clean a pump, he just literally unplugs it. It's a couple of drips, and that's it.
That's it.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Nice and easy to clean.
It is great.
Juicy. More light.
Can I interject for a minute? Being nearly 60, I need to go and empty my bladder.
Acorn.
Acorn.
I'm not editing that out, so at least mute your mic.
I can still hear you.
As long as we can't hear you.
I was going to say, we can hear you too.
Although there won't be much at his age. Sorry, Sam, continue.
What was I continuing with? Emptying my bladder? No.
Yeah.
There was a lot of details like that. So just working out as best as I could at that point in time, because I that was one of the things I did factor in, or one of the things I learned from the previous tank was equipment changes, methodologies change, just approaches change. So whilst I wanted everything to be incredibly bespoke and to the millimeter planned, I also wanted to plan for changes to all of those things, all of that pieces of equipment and all of those approaches. So a delicate balance between, making something exactly fit this return pump, but then also going, well, if in 2 years' time we decide that we want to have, 3,000 times the tank volume turnover every hour, as opposed to 30,000 times or something like that, I don't know. I wanted to have the ability to factor that in. I don't want to have to make a whole new custom sump just to change a return pump. So
see, that is clever, because that's almost inevitable in this hobby, that something's going to change.
Exactly.
It's
like
I went mad. Yeah. We'll get to that. I went absolutely mad with wiring and conduit and things like that, and I went with like heavy duty industrial cabling for around like if you were to go to a library and there's like 60 computers all set up, all the cables into this great big chunky conduit in the wall. So I did all that, and you can't open it once you've shut it. So I've had to break it all to access it, to get cables out, and I shouldn't have done it. I mean, it's lovely, nice and neat, but no.
That's always the kicker. I find when things are neat, they're nearly impossible to work on.
Yep.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a tipping point when things are really messy, they're impossible to work on too, but there's this happy medium of things being neat-ish. But still, if you've got to pull a pump out or a heater out, you don't have to undo 1,000 cable clips or something like that. That you can just pull it out. If everything's intricately routed and the wires are invisible, when you've got a 2 a.m. emergency and there's water on the floor or something, that's really not helpful.
I think people have the wrong impression of the term cable management. I think cable management most is bundle it up in your fist and put some Velcro tie wraps around it and shove it behind a table leg, right? That's not what cable management is to me now. Cable management to me now is separating the cables and routing them so they're not wrapped around anything. So at the drop of a hat, you just pull that cable and out it comes. But it's a whole other level of organisation.
It's a level that I have not reached. I would love to say that.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I'd love
that's
to
one of
say
those
I have.
things I'm never even aiming to attain to. Nah.
I definitely aim to, but I know it's a joke of an aim because it's not going to happen. If I get 20% towards that stretch goal, I'm happy.
So yeah, your sump is a raceway, you're saying. So the water comes in and goes all the way around the sump, not just from left to right.
Correct. Yeah. With a couple of, intricate things in there too. Like I've got a RO reservoir built into a fairly awkward shape that fitted in between a few other chambers, which is fine because it's got some automations on it, so it turns itself on and off, fills itself up. So I don't actually need to get to it to fill it up, but I needed access to RO water for various things, whether it be auto testers or kalkwasser or things like that, as well as obviously top off water. So designing some chambers around things like that. So there's a few non-negotiables. You have to be able to, well, in this tank, I wanted to be able to fit a filter roller in, wanted to be able to get as big a refugium as I could, needed some room for some media, and obviously return pump section with some heaters, fitting, and then trying to work in between the uprights of the stand, trying to make those, leave enough room for baffles, for bubble traps, all of that. It's amazing how quickly that real estate runs out. So I had a heap of revisions, and I'm strangely, for someone who's in the IT field and fairly involved with technology, pretty much all of my revisions of my sump drawing were all on paper because I did it to scale, and I had paper cutouts of various bits of equipment that I would sit and shuffle them about. It was just a tactile experience, and that was the only way I could make it work.
Scale model of it, you mean?
Little scale model, yeah, just a 2-dimensional one, just like a bird's eye view.
Yeah.
And just shuffle things about to see, well, if I move this here, I might be able to gain an extra 10 litres into the Refugium, but it would mean that the heaters would have to go from there to here. And I played about with that for a lot longer than people probably should, but in the end, the result's been great. The sump has been something that I haven't really had to think about, and to me, that's the tick of approval. If it's not annoying you, it must be good.
Yeah.
Has there been any major changes from when you design the sump? And like, I know you change equipment a lot, like with different testers and calcium reactors. And is there anything like in that sump now that you wish you had done differently with the changes that have happened over the last couple of years?
No, there's nothing within the sump that has actually changed from this inception of the tank. A lot of the equipment that sits on top of the sump, all those smart tests and some of the equipment off to the side over here, where the calcium reactors, kalkwasser, things like that, that has changed, but that was part of that planning at the start, where I knew things like that would come. The core infrastructure within the system, thankfully, to this point in time anyway, hasn't changed.
Well done.
Yeah.
So far.
You get a tick of approval from Melinda.
That's it. Got a gold star.
We just wrap it up here then.
That's it, yeah. Job done.
So Sam, are you able to go mobile with this camera setup so we can have a look at your sump and lights?
I will do my best. Let's see if we can get, I might even take this door off.
It is looking mint. It is looking absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Even better than your cleaning video this morning.
All right, let's get that door open. Let's move some of these things. Hopefully you can tilt that.
I do like these aluminium stands. There's just something about them.
Yeah,
it's just very clean, aren't they?
I mean, my frag tank obviously flooded just before Christmas. Was some water behind it. You know, and the stand's made fully of. I mean, it's not even timber; it's like chipboard.
Yes, it's like that laminated.
Yes,
board,
it's probably slightly swollen now and slightly changed its structural integrity.
Yeah, that's the things I hate.
So does this aluminium stuff, does it stain or anything with salt water, or it just literally doesn't ever tarnish?
Yeah, pretty much. So this is what they'll call try to get myself on camera too. What they'll call a raw aluminium finish, but it's technically clear anodized. That being said, the anodize is very hard. This stuff's designed for industrial use, and I've gone super chunky. These are 90 by 45, and then on the corners it's 90 by 90. So even when I see off the shelf tanks now, and they come out with, you know, like, oh, we've got aluminium stands, and it's like,
yeah, they're
20 mil box tube.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh because
this
is ridiculous. Like, I had this. The people that designed the stand also have the ability to basically load test it. Like, you tell them what you're putting on it and where it's going to sit, and they were able to tell me that I think it was 2,500 kilograms. This would deflect 0.2 of a millimeter across the whole length of the stand. So we should be good.
Yes,
it's amazing.
What's the cross at the top? Is that 90 by 45 again? Or 90 by 90?
No, that's 90-90.
Jeez.
What?
That's a big.
Yeah. So the outside frame, top and bottom, is 90-90.
Right.
That's 90-90 across. These are 90 by 45. These two are the only 90 by 45s, and they're thinner, so that they're not blocking as much of the sump.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's a heavyweight stand. Yeah.
It's that was the other ironic thing with this stand was when you're talking a 7 foot long reef tank, and regardless of how you just break down your dimensions, the stand that was 1.2 meters tall, 90 centimeters front to back, and 210 centimeters side to side. Any other material to try and get stand from the place that manufactured it to here was going to need a truck and multiple people to move it. I literally went up to the place that cut the aluminium and designed the stand for me, and put it into the boot of our family sedan. Drove home, unloaded it myself, built it while I was watching a couple of episodes of TV. Like, watched 2 half-hour shows. The stand was built, and then my wife and I picked it up and put it into position. Just super simple. And the place that made it are like, they actually put stickers on each piece. You know, this was A1 and this is B2, and then all the fasteners had different labels on them. So they're like, connect B1 and B2 first using these fasteners, then do that 2 times, and then join those 2 bits with C1 using these fasteners. And it was like Lego. It was super quick and easy. Yeah.
Cool.
What are they expensive? Like, I mean, I don't know what to compare to, but I mean, is it an expensive project, these aluminium stands?
They're not cheap.
Not cheap, no.
Rob, yours is 4 meters long. You think you've got your tank, Rob's cheap.
Yeah.
To be fair, this is one of the materials that has got considerably cheaper since I built this tank.
Wow.
It was, not a lot of things in the world are like that, but there wasn't a lot of competition on the market for extruded aluminium when I built this stand, at least in Australia. And since then, China have entered the game. So you have a lot of ranging quality aluminium extrusions out there, and even if you don't go one of the lower quality extrusions, even if you buy an established brand that's been around forever, their prices are a little bit sharper now based off that.
Are you saying that tin is shit?
I think
no, it's great.
I think
are you publicly saying that?
What he said, yeah.
I think I was talking about Chinesium.
Chinese. Yeah.
And like, there's things you can do with extrusion to make it more expensive or cheaper. You'll see on some extruded stands, you'll have like corner brackets and things here.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate that. I don't want that at all. These have all got internal fixtures, so you probably can't see there are some holes drilled there, and there's these pieces have been tapped. So they've got a thread in there, so there was bolts that got screwed into there. Then you put your Allen key in there and you lock them in, which provides the same strength, particularly on these fixtures where this is the upright and this sits on top of the upright. You don't need the corner brackets. You've got the brackets in there holding it. That way it gives you complete free access. I didn't want these big ugly corner brackets in here blocking access.
I don't think you need corner brackets with 90 by 90.
Well,
you don't have any on the ends?
No corner brackets. It's all complete internal brackets like that.
So clean.
Nice.
Right, take us through your sump from either water going back to the tank or coming to the tank.
Sure. So this was actually one of the first design pieces with this system. Was we wanted the run from the overflow to be as smooth as possible. So we actually designed, we knew where the tank had the holes drilled for the overflow, and we knew what overflow was running. So we've got the Shadow V2 overflow in here. So I had the CAD dimensions of where the overflow pipes were. We knew where the sump was going to sit in relation to the tank and that overflow. So we lined up. It's difficult to see at the moment, but there's 3 pipes back here. You can sort of see next to the high quality Waypro pH controller there. 2 of those pipes. They are designed so that the water comes straight down. The end or the bulkheads on the sump for the lines from the overflow are precisely lined up, so the pipework comes straight down, then goes through a 2 mandrel bends. So one mandrel bend brings it in, next mandrel bend brings it down. So it's just got those 2 super smooth bends, and it's straight up and down. So the water enters the sump right at the back in this very narrow little chamber, because all it needs to do is receive the water. Then comes through another narrow chamber over here, this little cryptic zone here.
Okay.
And then enters into the filter roller. I call it a cryptic zone, realistically, because it doesn't really get any light in there, and there's nothing else that could fit in there. So it's a cryptic zone.
Can you access that at any time, or is that fully locked in?
I can access it. I wouldn't say at any time. It's not the world's easiest thing to access. It does require dismantling the filter roller to get access to it. So it's possible, but it's not something you'd want to do every week.
No.
You get a build-up of detritus in there?
There is a little bit in there. What I do when I replace my filter roller, I put a hose in there and just give it a good swoosh about, stir it all up, and bring it out. Then, thankfully, it is. I mean, there was 2 reasons for keeping it narrow. One, I didn't want to waste space on it. It was literally to bring water from the back to the front. But also by keeping it narrow, it keeps the velocity up a little bit as well, trying to limit detritus settling in there. So that comes through the filter roller, which is Hamali branded, who made the sump. So it's built in to the sump. Thankfully, it does use a standard width roll, so I can use off-the-shelf filter rollers from anyone. Hamali rolls are a high-quality roll, and they come like a ridiculous length, like 200 meters of fleece or something, and they last a very, very long time, which is great, but also means you end up with a really old and really stinky, dirty side of the roll. So you weigh up the options there. You don't change it as often, but you also have, like 7 months of used roll there, which isn't great. This was designed so that I could put a lid over it if I wanted to.
I was going to say, can you cover it in?
I could, but it's all right.
If it's not necessary, it's mine only smells for one reason, and that is because my snails spawn once a month, and it's so bad.
Yeah, snail spawn it's not good.
Nope.
But I am just running. I'm actually running a bubble magus roll on there at the moment. I found them to be the cheapest, and to be, I was going to say, if not as good a quality, better quality than some of the others out there. So it's cheap, lasts a long time, filters really well. Doesn't look particularly dark there at the moment because I did just change the roll yesterday. So that's only just very
light. Yeah.
Yeah. That's only the first sort of 40 centimeters of the fleece, so it's kind of got fed through. Water then comes through there to this section, which is where my skimmer is. We did make that as...
Sorry, Sam, just go back a sec.
Yes. Yes.
Everything goes through your fleece then. There's no diversion. Yes.
Correct.
Right, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Yep. There is overflows here. There actually is a diversion plate I can open if I want to, but I never have.
Right.
I let it all run through there. Yeah.
Bypass it slightly.
Yeah, if I wanted to let 10% of the water bypass it, I could. If I was having trouble with it stripping nutrients too much, I could do that, but it's not a problem I've had for a little while, so it's going to all go through the fleece.
All right.
Then we come to skimmer section, which is not massive, but deliberately not massive. I only had this much room to work with to get the water from the back to the front, filter roller and skimmer. I could have gone the other way around. I could have made this the refugium and that the skimmer. But this section is big enough to fit a plenty big enough skimmer. This is the skimmer I put in when I started it. It's the Cove 250 Pro. It's been fine. It's something that I may change. I don't know if I'd say upgrade, but change, update, modernize.
Do all the Cove come with the installed turkey baster?
No. It's the perfect turkey baster holder.
It's perfect.
Because I have the line, it goes. Actually, you can probably see the blue line. Maybe not. Just there. See that wiggling?
That's the outside.
Yeah, that goes outside. I've actually got a CO2 scrubber out there as well, but that's really just a spider filter. Just make sure.
Yeah.
I don't want it sucking spiders in.
Yeah, I did find a dead spider in my alkalinity solution yesterday in the tank. I was like, how did that even get in there?
Wow.
Yeah, this goes out to outside there, and there's a few creepy crawlers out there. So rather than have my skimmer suck them in and mince them up, I thought I'll put a CO2 scrubber in there. It really shouldn't be scrubbing much CO2 out there, but if nothing else, a spider's going to make it through 2 kilo of media before it gets in. So this is meant to be the silencer holder. I don't have a silencer anymore, so turkey baster fits there perfectly. That works well. The skimmer does have a neck cleaner on it, and it does also have a drain. So it's plumbed to gravity feed off to the drain. One of those connections to the laundry that I mentioned before, it actually goes back through the wall into under the basin in the laundry. And I'd love to say I planned this. I'm just not that good at physics, but the way this gravity drain works, it actually requires the cup to get about half full before it gets enough head pressure to start the siphon.
It through that. Yeah.
And then it's a relatively slow drain from there. So it does give me the benefit of still having a rough idea of how much my skimmer is removing. If it just instantly drained it, I wouldn't actually know.
Yeah.
And if it drained too quickly, there would be a risk of skimmer just deciding to run a bit wet and pulling, 50 litres of water out, and the ATO going berserk and filling it up. So this still has, get that out of the way, there is still a float switch in there that will turn the skimmer off if it fills, which if it does do something silly, it will fill quicker than it drains and it'll turn the skimmer off.
I was just about to ask, because that is what has always stopped me from plumbing my skimmer into a drain. If the skimmer goes nuts overnight, the tank salinity just crashes.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Something you do need to be mindful of. That has been combated on this system through that float valve, but also I actually took the ATO off this system. So I run, I monitor my top off. It's pretty consistent. So I just program the calc washer pump to replenish that throughout the day. I have some float switches in the sump, as well as salinity monitors. Should anything go high, low, diluted, too strong, it will alert me, and it is something that I check manually every day, is the salinity, just to make sure things have not gone haywire.
I don't want to attack your manhood, Sam, but this is smaller than I thought it was. In your videos, the sump looked mammoth, but seeing you sitting there next to that, it's quite a small sump for the size of Tangs.
Sam's an 8-foot guy.
Well, if it gives you, this is a 7-foot span, and this is 2/3 of it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So
it's just the way the video's showing it. Yeah, it just looks. So
I'm just such a big guy. I dwarf it. It's a 4 and a bit foot sump that it can look tight because of the racetrack nature.
Yeah,
but it's plenty big enough. it's big enough. I was tempted at some stage to go the full 7 foot.
Yeah.
But this space has been very handy.
Yeah,
I just like space in general. Yeah, I crave
absolutely. Yeah.
So skimmer section with probes.
Yes, there's just some probes in there from a Kamoa. I'm going to say that it's pronounced Quijan. I've got a little monitor over here that just monitors pH, ORP, temperature, salinity. I think that's all. And that's just a little live.
Apex?
No, never an apex.
Somebody touching your affair.
So is that a digital readout, or got an app for the probes?
Both, yeah. So it's got a little.
Right, okay.
It's connected there. There's a little display and an app as well. To be honest, I don't use the display at all. I just rely on it telling me if something gets out of whack.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that a decent salinity probe, do you think?
I did think, and it was for about 4 months, and since then it's gone a bit haywire.
Right. Yeah.
I'd be hesitant to say whether that's the probe or whether that's my handling of it or calibration of it. I'm not sure, but it was incredibly accurate for 3 or 4 months, and since then it's gone a little haywire.
Bit drifty, yeah.
It does seem to be the case with salinity probes, but I have heard that salinity is far more complicated to test than I thought it was.
Yes. I will say the salinity probe that I trust, as far as probes go, like I said, I do manually check salinity every day, but the one that I trust has worked for me, doesn't mean to say it works for everyone, is the Reef Factory Salinity Guardian, I think they call that. It's just a little probe with a digital display. I've had that now for 2 years, I think, and that thing has been rock solid. There's been 2 times in those 2 years when I thought it has gone haywire. It sends me push notifications saying salinity's high, salinity's low, salinity's high. One time had a troker snail crawling on it, and that was sending all sorts of bizarre signals. And another time, the sump level was low, so it was reading air, then it was reading water, then it was reading air, reading water. Yeah. So once those 2 issues were fixed, it has been like decimal place perfect. Very, very impressive.
Very, very interesting to hear somebody say something positive about Reef Factory.
Reef Factory. You are the first person on the planet that I've said Reef Factory's
I have heard.
Something.
I have heard some grumbles about them, but I can say for me, the Salinity Guardian has been incredible.
That's interesting. Because it is. Everyone seems to be jumping on the hate wagon a wee bit. I have zero experience, so I can't say a thing.
Yeah, same here.
Almost everybody has slaughtered them.
Are they quite big then where you are in Australia? Are they quite a well-known brand?
Yeah, they've got a decent slice of the pie down here. Yeah, yep. See, we don't have Neptune systems don't support Australia whatsoever, so we only have grey imports. That will change, did you say?
Shortly. They will very shortly, apparently this month.
World's biggest fucking reef, and they don't support the country.
Yeah. I bet it's their own, to be
finger
honest.
out, Neptune. Come on.
We used to have it, but then we had a distributor that let it go very slowly. And
the manufacturer stopped making power boards. And, again, people would use them. That's all good. If I know the distributor is coming back, a new distributor in Australia, will be carrying the brand. So maybe something I'll look into in the future, but up until now, with the lack of support here,
you've done without it.
They don't support us. I don't support them.
I think that's why Reef Factory has done so well in Australia, is because we haven't had the Apex Neptune as a competition.
We've had no alternative. GHL isn't really supported.
I was going to say, GHL? No, that's not supported either.
Not really, no. It has been picked up at times and then dropped, which is almost worse. Because people would get into the ecosystem.
You invest in it, and then it just falls out.
So
that's...
I've deliberately sort of kept away from all of that stuff because, I don't want to get caught with... Because I could very easily get thousands of dollars worth of equipment and be left high and dry. So, not for me.
We had that e-coral. Is it e-coral? For a little while that was trying to replicate. And it's completely disappeared now.
E-coral?
It has.
Do
you know
I've never heard of it.
No, never heard
don't bother looking.
Coral with a K.
Oh, right. That's good for Google searches.
So, coming at a skimmer section, we go over to Refugium. It's lit by a Kessel Refugium light.
It's pretty big.
It's a decent size.
Yeah.
I think it's about maybe about 50, 60 litres. It's decent size.
Was that originally like a Triton spec size Refugium?
No. Triton spec would require probably
a lot bigger,
4 or 5 times that size. Yeah, they require a massive Refugium, which is something that I've been toying with the idea of. Toying with potentially doing a new Sump at some time in the short-termish future with a big Refugium, but I won't change what's not broken. This Refugium has... it's the first tank I've ever had with a Refugium. I've tried algae reactors before, which start off great for me, and then they just turn to sludge after a few months. And no matter how many times I clean them out and reboot them, it just seems to grow slime and sludge, where this Refugium has been incredible. It pulls out so much, or produces so much calopa that I pull out every week. Very, very impressed with it.
So are you dosing anything on top of the algae to reduce nutrients, or are you having to add nutrients?
Neither at the moment, no. So I manage that by the hours on the Refugium light. So effectively, when my nitrates and phosphates go up, I turn the duration of that light on for longer. So I might start a little bit earlier in the day or stay on a little bit longer in the morning. And then if my nutrients get low or bottom out, I'll just dial it back, pull it back a few hours.
Yeah,
and that
pretty simple, isn't it?
Seems to work quite well, yeah.
It's on a reverse cycle, is it?
Mostly. As well, normally the lights would have been off for about an hour by now, but there is a little bit of overlap. The Refugium light does come on for, I don't know, the last hour or two of the tank lights being on, and stays on for an hour or two in the morning once the tank lights come on. But predominantly a off or anti-sync, I guess you'd call it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And it's good for pH at night to have the.
So they say. Honestly, I couldn't tell you.
Right. Okay. That's not something you've looked at by leaving it off for a couple of nights and see if the pH drops. No.
It's been on. Oh, well, actually, no, that's not true. I did have a Kessel light die on me, and I had about a week when I didn't have a Refugium, and yes, there was a pH difference.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'd forgot about that. I didn't deliberately schedule that test in, but
you did it. You did it anyway.
It did it for me.
Yeah.
What pH are you currently getting in the system? Like what range?
It is currently. Oh, it's quite high at the moment.
8.5?
It's currently 8.4, which is about as high as.
Did you hear that, Rob?
What?
Mine's 4.8. Mine.
I think I hit 8.42 today.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm not doing bowls.
Like creep over there.
I get
It's 8.44
sometimes. What did you get?
8.6 sometimes.
I think
no, I get no, mine's calibrated on an Apex. I got to about 8.5 and I got worried, so I changed all my dosing that my alkalinity only goes in overnight, but not all in one hit.
Yeah.
So
What's made a
8.5
difference on this? I never get 8.44. I have today. That's because the lights are on.
You've left them
flat
on,
stick,
yeah.
but quite a bit longer.
You're welcome.
Also, I have also turned my calcium reactor down over the last. When I say down, taken about 30% of it out over the last month or so. I've just increased dosing just to try some of the Triton range out. So calcium reactor, particularly on this system, it hits the pH pretty hard because you've got an effluent coming through at about 6.1 pH at like 35, 40 mil a minute. It brings the pH down.
Yeah, it does bring it down, yeah. So where do you run the effluent back to, Sam? What part of your sump does it go in?
Effluent comes in just here. So I've got this
straight into Refugium.
Yeah, effectively.
Okay.
So the reason for it here is it's a visual, so I can see that it's pumping. I can actually see the drip rate coming out, and then it goes straight into the Refugium to degas as much as possible. Let the algae suck up that low pH solution.
Yeah.
How's the Triton dosing going?
Impressively well. At this stage, I'll send off a Triton test this week to see how it's impacted trace elements, but I can say the solutions are very, very strong. I have dosed
Moonshiners on top of the Triton. You've stopped the Moonshiners.
I still have, as you can see down here, some Moonshiner elements. The Moonshiner, whether it's Moonshine, whether it's Triton, they're two sort of methodologies. The products, in my opinion at least, are somewhat interchangeable. Obviously, you need to work out the strengths of things, but whether Moonshine says your boron should be at this level or Triton says it should be at this level, what product you use to get to one level or the other isn't quite as important, in my opinion. I'm sure some scientists out there will say otherwise.
I can't get my head around how many tiny little bottles some people have around their tanks. I would get excited about that for about an hour, and then that would be it. Not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I'll be the same.
Do you have like no way?
Can I just throw them all in one bucket and just dose that?
Dam's frozen.
These are sitting here for when ICP comes back and says you need to boost this by this or that by that. So most of these are not a daily dose. There's a couple here that are an iodine and a manganese. Everything else is a once a month, once every 2 months sort of deal. They just happen to fit in this spot. 3.5 mil a day.
I'm dosing more than
that.
Very good.
No, my tank's
I don't know what to make of that. Is that not say you're shit, Sam? Is that what you're saying?
I think Sam was on the verge of calling you a name there, Melinda, but he's so polite.
I know, it's all
Sam
good. There's
wouldn't do
much
that.
manganese as
Sam's
you
an
like.
angel. No, I've decided to boost manganese massively, and that's why I was like, how much is Sam dosing? But I can't see it from here. So
sorry.
Will we just get our measuring tapes out and just start measuring dicks right now?
Well, I'm out.
Melinda's the biggest.
You'd probably win. Yeah, I was going to say.
Is a worry.
And about iron, do you have to dose for your?
I do have iron in here somewhere.
Suck up iron or not?
I do have iron there that I've got listed at 0.4 milliliters a day. I would be lying if I told you I did that every day. That's something I probably maybe once a week I'll give it 1 mil, and then I'll leave the rest to when I get an ICP back. If I notice anything, I normally do like a weekly harvest on the Refugium, and if I notice it's maybe a bit pale or not growing as quick as I would, I might get a little bit more diligent on my iron dosage. But it's all good.
And when you harvest it, is it just I grab a handful, or do you measure out a given amount? Or?
Definitely don't measure it. No. It's a good 3 or 4 handfuls, but there's no science to it. No,
just enough to make a nice big Calerpa merkin.
That's it.
Yes, that's it. Let's just give it to the kids and say, "Be a mermaid for the day."
Okay,
It's
so
hard to tell from here, but is there a lot of flow going into that refugium? Because like from here it looks still.
Yeah, it does look
Is
very
there
still.
a lot of flow going through there? Or is it just like we can't see
It
'cause
looks
we're
still,
old
but
and
there's
blind?
actually there's quite a bit of water there. If I move the filter roller a bit, it might show a bit more. There is
can move now.
it's
Yeah,
gets
so-
the full flow of the sump, so it's running about 6,000 liters an hour on the return pump.
Nice.
So it's a decent amount of water flowing through. In fact, there's more than that because there's an accessories pump that does bring some fluids back in here. So there's actually probably 6,500 liters an hour flowing through the refugium. So it looks
from
quite
here
still,
it just
but
looks still, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
to be honest, even from here it looks
just-
still, but there's quite a bit of water there. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks very sort of compact as well. That growth.
Yeah. It's probably I probably should have given it a harvest this morning, but no, I'll get to it tomorrow.
Yeah.
perfect. So
You
after
get a lot of life in
refugium-
there. Sorry.
Sorry.
Is it? Do you get lots of life in that refugium? Is it
Yes,
full of
I
pods
do.
And
Pods, I can't. Yeah, there's definitely some pods in there. The thing that surprised me the most, and you can see a couple up here, I have trochus snails spawning in there ridiculously, which is kind of funny because I take the excess calopa into my local fish shop and I give it to them, and they sell it for $5 a handful. And ironically, trochus snails cost $5 each at my local fish shop as well. And I could just about guarantee you'll get a dozen trochus snails in every handful of my calopa. So,
wow.
yeah, you could probably get $60 worth of snails. Granted, they're going to be babies, but they'll grow for your $5 a
that shop
calopa.
sales of calopa's just gone up.
Well, I'll have to keep harvesting.
Yeah. So after the refugium, where do we go? Where do we go next?
Yes, I'll turn the camera a little bit for you. So it is a little hard to see, but this chamber down here goes from front to back, and that is full of I think something like 14 or 18 kilos of ceramic media balls in there, and they're in some big
Baskets,
rectangular baskets. Yeah, that I can actually lift those baskets out, put them into a bucket of water, and shake the crap out of them, basically, and it
My shake. Yeah.
literally and figuratively shake the crap out of them. Yeah,
Right. So they like the max spec round ones. It's quite hard.
same as Max Spec. Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Got a different brand stamped on them, but I'm sure they come from the same place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd also like to point out that's a Dr. Bridge KH Guardian.
That
Everyone was
is
confused
KH
with
Guardian?
Salty Banter when I said it was Dr. Bridge brand.
Doctor.
And everyone was like, what?
What?
What? I was like, that's KH Guardian is Dr. Bridge. That's one
Dr.
right
Bridge.
Point,
Say the line to
to it,
Dustin.
please.
It's just
Point
all these
to it.
random names.
there. Point to it.
Yeah, I was
That's
looking
the-
at yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it's like the original alkalinity tester. They were the first ones
It
to do it properly.
absolutely is. Yep.
And does it work
First,
the acid titration?
it absolutely does. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm
Highly,
always messaging
highly
Sam
accurate.
when I can't get mine working.
One of my claim to fames is that on one of the very early revisions of firmwares for KH Guardian, I get a shout out. My friend and I had the first couple of these in Australia. We jumped on them and played with them straight away. And I found a little bit of a minor bug in the software, and I contacted the owner and said I'd probably change, this to this, effectively carry the one. And he was like, "Yep, great idea. I'll release a new firmware." And I got to mention in the firmware, so that's my claim to fame.
Oh, cool.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's cool.
They
called
are
you
a brilliant piece of kit.
They just called you
Very
Pants
good bit of
After by accident.
Well, the long-running joke that they, for whatever reason, let it run a lot longer than it should have. The KH Guardian, the box that it came in, had a sleeve over it, and it was meant to say Professional Edition, but somewhere in the translation things went wrong and it said Professional.
Love it.
And we let them know. I don't know if they printed out 100,000 of those sleeves or something, or they just couldn't be bothered changing it. But it was Professional for like 8 years before they changed it.
I would have just
wow.
owned
That's
it
a
and
long
just
time.
run
Very
with it.
professional.
Just
Right. 8 years, they did. Yeah.
so yeah, it goes
So,
through your biomedia.
Yeah, so biomedia is at the end there from front to back. And then from the back corner, not that you can really see, although you can see that one of the Abyss controllers there.
Yeah.
Try to point to it on screen. And there we go. That's a good spot.
Yeah, that's it.
So that back corner there is where my two Abyss A200 pumps are. One is dedicated return, or one is accessories. I do have some plumbing there so that I can isolate one and have one pump run both sides, because they both run like 50%. There's quite a bit of leeway in them.
Yes.
But why just go
That's
one?
The biggest overkill thing on your tank, Sam. 2 Abyss A200s. Yes.
I cannot recommend those pumps enough. There's a few reasons for that. One, they're in a section that is an absolute nightmare to get to on this sump. So I'd never want to touch return pumps.
Yeah.
And Abyss is the only pump I trust to not have to touch.
Yeah.
And secondly, my family owned pump shops for, I think, about 20, 25 years, dealing with commercial pumps and industrial pumps and things like that. The Abyss pump is the highest quality pump I've ever seen. That's sub $200,000. It's a beautiful pump. Whilst I'm not going to tell you for a second they're cheap, the pump you get for the money is very, very high quality. And for the use case where I never want to touch it, it's money well spent.
So you've never touched them then, since they've been in? You just...
No.
Wow.
So your family are in the pump game.
Yeah.
They were,
They
were.
were.
Yeah, not anymore.
Sam Pumper.
It was actually Parker Pumps.
Oh, brilliant.
Pee-pee.
That's the one. That was the side hustle. No.
PP pumps. Anyway.
Right.
So you've got 2 Abyss A200s running. So one is a dedicated return and one is for your accessories.
Correct. Yes. Yep. So one just purely goes through the plumbing. It's so weird pointing on camera in strange spots, but one goes up to the back of the tank. 2 returns. That's about the only time I actually realize how much water that's flowing is when I do, very rarely, if I do a manual water change on this system where I want to pull 25% of the water out or something. When I turn those pumps back on, because I've got plumbing from my IBC right out in my back shed, both through John Guest lines for automatic water changes, but also I've got an inch PVC pipe that I can run big pumps through. So I can put 1,000 litres in and out of this tank in about 40 seconds if I want to.
What?
Wow.
What did you just say?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't because the pipe does run through our roof. So if I wanted to flow that much, it'd be risky. But realistically, I can bring 1,000 litres into this tank in a few minutes without any sort of sweat broken at all.
Wow.
And that plumbs into the sump. So I have to control the speed, because if I do drain from the display and then I pump the new water back into the sump, I rely on the Abyss to pump back up to the display. Yeah. So when I've drained the water from the display down and I turn the Abyss on so that the return outlets are in the air, that's when I go, holy crap, there's a bit of water.
And that's
Normally those outlets are below the water and you can't, I mean, I've got decent surface agitation and stuff like that. So you're sort of like, hey, there's water movement. But yeah, when they're pointing up in the air and the water just hoses out of them, you're like, yeah, that's some turnover.
And that's at 50%.
Yes.
Let's do 100% live.
I did. Yeah. There's been a couple of times when when I am pumping in that water from the IBC and I'm watching the sump level go up and down. And I'm adjusting the speed of the Abyss and I'm adjusting the speed of the pump in out the back there through the remote. Sometimes you just crank the Abyss up just to see what it can do. But you've also got to be mindful. Like I've got some fairly delicate, like a red dragon colony up there that's just getting smashed with like 12,000 litres of water. I'm it just
all the fish are like stuck to the glass.
So yeah, you got to be careful there, but they've got some absolute punch to them. They're great pumps.
Yeah, so you have cranked them now and again then, just for the sheer hell of it.
Yes, just to see if I can blow the seams off the PVC, yeah.
Good lad. I'm not going to ask how often you crank it. We'll move on. What's next in the system then, Sam?
So apart from that, you've got a gap in between where the return pumps are and where the water comes in from the overflow, and that's basically behind the skimmer here is where the RODI reservoir is. So
and it's built into the sump, you said, yeah?
Correct, yeah. It's built into the sump in a spot that otherwise would be wasted. I never need to access it other than to drop a new hose in if I need to hook up some sort of new smart tester or something like that. But once you've got a couple of lines in there, you can reuse those lines. So it's set and forget. It does its thing back there. We never really need to touch it. So that's fine back there.
The sump's kind of like a C shape then for your tank water, and then in that
so we're coming through the back here, down the front, across, back, across, and then the little gap in the C, I guess, is where the RO is. Yeah.
It's natty. And how much did it hold? Did you say that? I missed it.
I didn't, and I don't exactly know. I'm going to say
just make it up, Sam. We won't know. Just
it holds 400 litres.
It goes down 400 foot. Right. So, and you just top it up automatically, so you haven't got to manually try and get in there and.
Correct. Yeah. So it's got I've got saltwater in and out, both 1/4 inch John Guest line as well as 25 mil or inch PVC in and out, so I can move water in and out automatically, slowly, or manually, very, very fast. I have RODI, limitless RODI there for Kalkwasser, for any auto testers, and if I am doing top off that I'm not at the moment, I use the Kalkwasser for top off. Skimmer's plumb to drain, so there's nothing there. There's nothing water-wise I need to do here.
Are you still doing the automatic water changes, or have you stopped that with the Triton?
They are currently stopped. I'm not going to say I'm doing the Triton method because
the Triton dosing.
Triton dosing, yeah. I have turned it off at the moment just to see what the impact is on nutrient levels, if any, and also just on ICP, and just to see what difference it's making.
You were doing like double salinity or something weird, so you could increase your you were getting really.
It was. I had a little experiment there for a while where I was mixing salt water at 1.052 specific gravity, so effectively double the salinity, and with the automatic water change, I was doing a 20 litre a day water change, but I was taking 20 litres out, but only putting 10 litres in because I was putting in double salinity, which gave me a 10 litre deficit, which allowed me to put an extra 10 litres of Kalkwasser in to try and get that pH boost. At the moment, I'm not doing that, one, just because it overcomplicates things, but two, because I've turned the calcium reactor down, so I'm not pumping as much effluent through it, and dosing the Triton range of supplements. As we saw, my pH is way above what I think is necessary. So I don't need to run that much Kalkwasser, and just don't need to overcomplicate it more. Yeah.
I still remember that video where you first said publicly about your salinity. I was in the shower at home and my phone was playing YouTube, just sitting on the wee table in the bathroom, and I was washing my hair, and I stopped washing my hair, turned around, and was like, "The fuck did he just say?"
Yeah, I think a lot of people did that.
Because I'd missed the build-up and the explanation of it. I was like, what?
Yes.
Sam Parker just said what? Is it April the 1st?
Look, I did that for probably a year and a half. I didn't have any ill effects. I wouldn't say I had any massive positive gains from it. I might have got an extra 0.1 pH out of it, but it's a lot of risk to gain such a small amount.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
All along I said I do not recommend this to anyone. I'm going to try it for a bit, but don't copy. It's not worth it.
I do remember the disclaimers.
with a couple of people that I asked in Australia, like, do you have any questions for Sam? And they all came back to that double salinity and the calcwasser, and it was just like, I don't think he's doing it anymore. And I'm like, I can't really ask him, but I will. So.
Just only recently stopped. Yeah. Last 3-4 weeks since doing the Triton dosing. I thought, well, I'll turn the calcium reactor back so I can dose more of that. And if I'm doing that, my pH was going up. No need to tempt fate with all of these automations that can go astray.
Every question I had for you in this tank tour, you have answered in your own videos in the last 2 weeks. And it's just like, well, can't ask that now.
I'm doing well.
Yeah. Belinda's just like, oh, for Christ's sake, it's another one gone.
Oh, great. He's covered that already. Let's ask him about his plums.
They just said what Keith Burklehammer said to me, Sam, and he says, no, I'm not doing a tank tour. There's plenty of it on the internet. Just go and watch it.
Yeah.
Cheers,
I will publicly say one of my favorite things, and I get this probably 4 or 5 times a week. I'll get a message from a random stranger that'll say, I love your YouTube channel. I watch all of your videos. Can you tell me what lights you run? And I'm like, I've done multiple videos on this.
Yeah, he's sure he watched them.
What about what return pump do you recommend? I'm like, do you watch all the videos?
Yeah,
because I've covered this in pretty big detail.
I don't want to sound creepy, Sam, but I even know where your hoses are connected to your outdoor fence and then cross over your path into your home.
Oof, nicely done.
I was just super impressed. I see the whole natural seawater thing. It blows my mind. I mean, we can use it here. We can use it here. We have to go to certain points to collect it. And for me, I'm sorry, the juice is not worth the squeeze in terms of effort with trailers and things like that. But it is something I would like to try in the future.
There's pros and cons to artificial and natural. I'm incredibly lucky here. Well, Melinda's probably even in a better location where access to very good quality natural salt water is fairly easy. So it just makes it way too tempting to not take up the offer. Very cost effective. Yeah. I pay about I think it's $130 for 1,000 liters delivered. And if you have seen my video, you'll know that all happens without me doing anything. I'll literally send a text message to Bruce, my water guy, and he can come any time in the next month, basically, day or night, plug on to my piping at the front of the house, fill up. I've got 2 IBCs plumbed together, so as soon as I've got less than 1,000 liters left, I know I can take another 1,000 liter delivery, and it's all automatically plumbed in, out, everything. So
I'm trying to get back to natural salt water at the moment. So, but I didn't have storage space for it before.
It's one of those things. That's one of the biggest challenges with natural salt water is storage. But I don't know. I find it takes. I mean, unless you got a nano, but then it's probably scales equally. I feel like it takes almost as much space, if not more space, to mix salt water than it does to store natural salt water. I recognize.
Do they have like a minimum amount? I mean, surely he's not going to come to your house and go, "Can I have a litre, please?"
Correct.
backs in his huge lorry. Yeah.
You absolutely can. If you want a litre, Bruce will deliver you a litre, but it costs the same for 1 litre or 1,000 litres. So you may as well take 1,000.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Fill my bath.
That's how he does it. He'll say, "Yep, you want a litre? Not a problem. It's $130."
Right. I'll see.
And the rest, the other $999, will just go back down storm water. I think it's probably what happens to it. Or actually, sometimes I get lucky and Bruce will message me and say, someone just filled up a tank. They took 700 litres. I got 300 litres on board. Have you got enough room in your IBCs? I'll plug it in. I'll pump it in on the way home. What? I'll take it. Thanks, mate.
Brilliant.
Wow. Yeah, that's good.
Super.
Nice.
So I think you've been sitting on the floor long enough, Sam. Do you want to,
yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to show us the tank and you take us through what you've got in there?
Yes. Sure thing. Let me close some of this up.
And time's up. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for watching.
Oh dear.
Sorry, Sam.
No, it's all good. All right, we'll get that door on. Let's lift this back up. Hopefully without knocking anything over.
Does your sump light go back off automatically?
Of course.
So just to be clear,
Yes.
I have watched all of your content. I am asking for the sake of others when I ask what is this and what
Sure.
is this?
So what lights you got?
It's a fair question.
They are
No. I don't want to be harsh.
They're the heaviest in the game, do not?
I'm always happy for people to message me and reach out and talk about my tank or their tank or anything like that. So I don't want to give the impression that I'm not. It just does make me laugh when people are like, I watch all your videos, and then they'll ask the most common thing about my tank. But you know,
Once we stop recording, Sam, we can have a wee conversation.
Yeah, we're digging into that. We'll get some names.
Yeah, an address.
Oh, it'll take a long time. Trust me.
So you don't want Stratons? You're happy with the lights you've got?
I would love to try Stratons, but I have absolutely zero reason to change the Philips Coral Care. I cannot rate them highly enough. Yeah,
they're doing an incredible job.
Yeah, I couldn't fault them. Yeah,
I've been tempted.
I mean, other than they're heavy and they're pretty ugly for a fixture.
Ooh. Oh, I thought you meant.
They're thick,
sorry, I thought you meant the Stratons.
Oh no, the Stratons are sleek, gorgeous looking things. As far as the Philips Coral Cares go, if I was to pick two things that I think they are not competitive on, would be that they weigh a damn ton, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. And as far as the sleekness of the exterior of the fitting goes, the Philips Coral Care is pretty industrial, particularly compared to something like the Stratton, which looks like it's from the future. It's crazy looking.
I think it's tricky not to liken things between each other. I see the Stratton, you can't compare the Stratton to these other lights. It's just not fair. It's a completely different type of light.
Correct. Yeah.
But holy shit, do they grow coral? Wow.
I think a lot of lights are moving towards these sort of full coverage panels again.
Yeah.
We're sort of going almost full circle around.
Yeah,
that
rather
again.
than the concentrated pucks. Yeah, they're kind of moving
exactly.
back.
Yeah.
Who gives
there's
a
pros
puck?
and cons to both.
Who gives a puck? Yeah. Kessel, be the only ones.
Pucket.
So, are your lights zip tied?
Yes, they are.
Oh, gotta love a zip tie.
Yeah. They weigh a ton and they're held up with each one of the Philips's. I've got 2 zip ties per corner, so they've got 8 zip ties each.
Yeah, it's fine. They're going to go.
Trust me, they're fine. They're quality zip ties. I've held significantly more valuable and heavy things with zip ties than those lights.
You still use them on the people you throw in the boot of your car, Sam?
That's it.
They're the best thing. Quick and easy access.
That's how we test the breaking strain of a zip tie.
Oh dear. So do you want to take us through the equipment that's actually in your system before we then hit the livestock and the corals, Sam?
Yes, that I can do. So inside the tank, I mean, starting from, I guess we'll go above the tank. So light-wise, in fact, if I pan up just a little bit so you can see the lights a bit more. So I do have 3 Philips Coral Cares, Gen 2s on there. They've been the light that's been on this tank the entire time. Some of the others have changed around it. Those ones, if anything I would change to them, I'd try to squeeze a 4th in there. Absolutely love them, can't rate them enough. I do have in between or either side of the central Philips Coral Care, I've got 2 Kessel A500Xs in there. Just because when they came out, I wanted to play with them. So I picked a couple up and they've been fun. I think they're probably, at least down here in Australia, I'm not sure what they're like price-wise around other parts of the world, but in Australia, I think they're pretty expensive light. But
Yeah,
particularly with A500, it's a way of adding a
You're the
heap
only
of light.
person I know who uses them, Sam. do you think anyone else runs a Kessel from?
The first LFS I ever went into before I even had a fish tank pointed at that light and said, that is the Rolls Royce of lights. I then went after I owned a fish tank and you'd fucking got rid of them all.
Oh, no.
So, no, I do not know another human other than freshwater or refugium or like a plant-based growth light that some people have in their sumps. I don't know anyone that uses them on a display. No.
Yep. What I love about them is almost more the attachments, the little magnetic attachments. Like if I jump over here to, it's not that easy to get to anymore, but I'll grab a chair so I can.
You don't have a step ladder set up your tank tour?
Of course I do. It's called the dining chair.
That's pretty.
So these little
Oh,
magnetic attachments.
So is that
gives you
spreading it or concentrating it?
Concentrates it, that one.
Right. Okay.
And is that an actual Kessel attachment?
Yes, correct. Yep.
And
So
are they the
Kessel
same
have got
like
those-
as the ones in the middle, or are they are they a different model?
The ones in the middle are different. Ironically, the ones on the A360X Kessels is the super narrow one, which is actually only meant to go on the A500X. The idea of that being that you could mount a single A500X a long way above your tank, like meters above your tank, and put one of those narrow reflectors on it. So it looks like you don't have a light anywhere near the tank, and it would still give you even coverage across the tank. I actually like to use them on the A360Xs to spotlight a particular coral or get light in a particular spot where otherwise I couldn't if I just had a straight flat beam across the top.
Right.
So that's why I've got the lock
like
line.
a torch.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like
I've got them on
shining a
lock
torch
line,
at the
so I can actually bend them on an angle and shine almost a beam of light behind a bommy or something and light it up with a Kessel that way.
And they're mounted on lock line, if I remember right.
Spot on. Yep.
Yeah.
So that makes it easy for me to just bend them and change what I want. So if I use the same approved step ladder, this Kessel over here, I can bend that sort of.
That is quite easy to move then.
It is.
Yeah, straight at the camera. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. That's me retina's gone.
So that gives me the ability to spotlight a coral and really target it with a bit of par or something if I want to.
And do I see strips up there as well?
You do, yes. So they're the most recent edition. I actually took 3 Kessels off to put those strips on. That's the AI blades in the grow formation, not the glow. They're a light that when I first heard about them, my friend that owns my local fish shop told me about them. He said, these lights coming out, they're going to be incredible. They're great. They do this, that. And I went, they sound like rubbish. It's very unlike me. Yeah. Very unlike me. Normally anyone talks about any sort of light and hypes it up, I'm on board. I'm going to the ATM to pull money out to buy them. And he told me about them. Like, they sound like utter crap. Not interested. And he's like, I'll get you some in the first order. I went, don't waste your time. Not interested.
He did reverse psychology on him. That's what he did.
Yes.
And then he got them in, and he puts them over his coral tanks, and he's like, mate, you've got to check these things out. I'm getting crazy par out of them. The colors look awesome. They're super slimline. There's no fans. They're actually really affordable. The app's great. And I went, look, I don't know why you're trying to sell me on these lights. I'm not interested. Like, I don't know. I have zero interest in a strip light on my tank. Forget it. And then that weekend I went, because I work at his shop every Saturday, or I work. I just kind of hang around and talk rubbish all day. So I went in on a Saturday to talk rubbish all day, and then I was like, Dave, have you seen these lights? These are bloody good. Like, have a look at the corals. The coral health, the color. They're the cheapest light we sell. These things are amazing. Like, when are you going to get me some? So yeah, he initially didn't see the humor in that, but he came around pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's 15 minutes of expletives, and then
But to be fair, he was dead right. I had written them off. I wasn't interested. Which actually, I did exactly the same thing with the Phillips coral cares. The distributor here asked me to do a review on them, and I said, "Look, for you, I will, but just be, like I've had a look online, and I think these things are rubbish. Like it's if I get the product and I
so
really
your basic
can't
starting
find,
point is it's shit.
Yes.
That seems
seems
to be
like it,
yeah.
Convince
That's
me.
it. Convince me otherwise. Yeah.
I told him, I was like, look, if I can't find enough positive stuff to talk about these, look, I won't release the video. I don't want to release a video just absolutely bagging something. It's not good for anyone. But I go, look, if I can find a couple of key points they got that work well, I'll make a video around that. And like, it'll be constructive, but it'll be honest. I'll say what I like about it, what I don't like about it. And he's like, yeah, that's fine, not a problem. I appreciate your opinion on the light. And if you think things could change, let me know. And that. And then, when I got one, I was like, this is the best thing ever. I've just thrown my halides out. I need 2 more of them. When can I get them? So, I get
So initially then, before you trialled that light, was you going to stick with your halides, or was you going to go
absolutely.
another route? You're going to stick with those? All right.
Okay.
Yeah, or when I say that, I actually had my hands on these lights before I had started planning this tank. But mentally, I'd decided in my head any future tank would always run metal halides, just because I had originally had GHL Mitris LEDs on my previous tank, and they did a fine job. And to be fair, I bought them secondhand, so LEDs do have a lifespan; they don't last forever. So they were probably pretty tired, and they did a fine job. The tank was lit, and it looked okay. I replaced it with 3. I had 3 of these Mitris lights above it, and I replaced it with 3 250-watt metal halides with radium single-end bulbs, and the tank just
like night and day. Yeah,
it just doubled its growth in like a month. It was ridiculous. So I went, look, LEDs are great and all, but just nothing replicates that. And I stuck to that belief until I got my hands on these coral cares, and then I went, I have everything that I love in LEDs with everything I love in metal halide. Sold.
Cool.
Well, they're certainly doing a good job.
I've been happy with it. Yeah. There's plenty of power in the system. I do run pretty much all my lights at 100% though. I just send it. I know they probably last a bit longer if you run them at 80% or less, but that's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard conflicting reports with LEDs.
Oh, really?
Better if you run them at 100% than if you ramp them down.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
Well, now I've got an excuse to run them at 100%. That's good.
Letting it go full bung rather than resisting things. Some people are saying resisting is shortening some of the life, but I have no idea.
I like the logic. I will go with that because, I run my lights at 100%. No, I love light. I always laugh when people say they're worried about burning corals and stuff when you see the par some of these SBS are in. Like the par they're getting from the sun in 30 centimeters of water is like 2,000 par, 2,500 par, and we're worried that 600 par is going to burn the tips. It's comical.
I ran my radians on the farm at 60%, and I spoke to a guy, and he was like, "What is the matter with you? Get ranked." I'm like, "What about?" He's like, "Shut up, get them," and I've never looked back.
There is some caveats to that. Like, granted. If you have a little bit of an algae outbreak in the wild, there's quite a lot of things that will clean it up. And also, obviously, nutrients a little bit lower in the wild, so that 2,000 par is not as big of an issue. If you've got 0.6 phosphate and 40 nitrates, and you want to run 2,000 par, you're gonna grow some algae. So, there's reasons to not run crazy par, but if you can keep the algae at bay, by all means, your coral's gonna love it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to mute and unmute as my dog barks.
Was that your dog, was it?
Oh, man.
I thought you just started howling. You got that excited at the lights at 100%.
The garden centre's fully open and there's people all over the place and he just gets a little bit excited sometimes. My apologies. So, what are we doing for flow in here, Sam? I see a lot.
Yes. There is quite a few in there. I'll have to actually stand up so I can count them myself. So I've got four MP60s. There is 1, 3 MP40s, 2 big Tunsies, and 2 Nero 7s.
Wow,
So
that is a lot more than I was expecting you to say.
there's a fair bit of flow on there. I've made efforts to try and make them not super obvious.
You got your 2 returns as well, haven't you, with your duckbills? Yeah.
The 2 returns, yeah, and I mentioned the flow they put out. So there's a bit of water movement in there. I mean, that being said, you can see it's fairly choked up, and that's after I pulled out from this bommy here about 40 litres of blue digi not that long ago. So that has opened up things a little bit, and it makes me cringe a little bit because this is like super bare now, but it'll fill in soon enough.
It's not bare.
I've never heard somebody describe corals in litres.
In litres, yeah, I thought that.
I removed 15 bottles of cider of blue digi.
2 buckets.
Yeah, pretty much. I actually just wheeled the wheelie bin inside and just went straight into it.
There was wheelie bins discussed on last night's live stream.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
It's I'd given away as much blue digi as I possibly could, and it got to the point where there was some pests through it. There was a bit of bubble algae, a bit of Aptasia. Some of my big fish would just swim past and break it off. I had dead bits of blue digi just all over the sand where it had been accidentally fragged and just left there to die. And I think at one point, one big branch of it had sort of broken and was hanging off. So I went in to sort of push that back into where it should go, and it kind of just shattered. And I went, all right, that's it. It's coming out.
Gone.
I had been teetering on the edge of pulling that out for about 6 months, and that was just the nudge I needed. So blue digi out, and I had some real estate, but there's a bit of vertical space that things can grow into now, at least.
Yeah.
Nice.
So did you just chuck it then, or did you take it to your LFS? Or?
No, I did just chuck it, actually. My local fish shop had already had.
Went, no, Sam, no more.
Pretty much, yes. It was a pest for them as well, and like literally, I gave it to them to give to customers. Anyone wants blue digi, come get it. And once you've done that for 5 or 6 weeks, everyone that wanted some's got some.
Saturated the market, yeah.
Exactly.
I took about 100 frags up to my LFS a couple of Christmases ago for free. Just I boxed a whole load up.
Yes.
The tank was just bursting. And I got up there and he looked in the box and I went, "I don't want any more of the fucking green one. No."
Yeah. It starts dying.
Yes.
Food dye.
Fair enough. And
it is a pest. It is.
You don't recycle any of your stuff then, like chuck it back in your calcium reactor or anything? No?
Nah.
Fair enough.
No. No. I've thought about it before, but nah.
Yeah, I've thought about it. I'm just saying, because I've thought about it, I've never actually done it. I sort of go, nah.
So what is the reason for no?
But no, risk versus reward. I just don't know. It might release more phosphate. It might release something undesirable. I've used the same calcium reactor media for 10 years now, so I'm familiar with the pH, the effluent. I feel like if I change that,
are solids. Why mess?
Yeah, because the calcium media is basically a mineral media, isn't it? Whereas the coral is it's basically ex-organic, and I just think if you're going to upset something, it kind of it makes sense that you should be able to put it back in the tank, but like you say, you don't know what it's captured over the time.
Yeah, I think. Look, I'm overstating the risks. I think the reality of it is you might see different, potassium levels and magnesium levels and things like that out of the media to what you're used to with your off-the-shelf media. I don't think you're going to bomb your tank with, some random element or heaps of phosphate or anything. But it's, again, it's just eliminating variables is good. If it was going to save me $1,000 a year, I'd probably look into it. I'd probably go through a tub of calcium extra course a year.
Yeah,
it's going to save me $40 $40 a year, and I'd have to clean it and store it, and forget it.
Why mess with it?
Yeah. It seems like a lot of risk.
Through your livestock, Sam, whether it be corals or fish first, it's totally up to you.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's start with corals. There's not a lot of rhyme or reason to my display where corals get placed. In fact, there's many a times where I look at things and go, that was probably not the best place to put a coral, but I try to make the colours work with each other. Starting up
the one in the middle looks good.
Yes,
I like the placement of that.
That's worked quite well. That's red dragon. That's just growing through there quite nicely. I've got quite a few bits of red dragon. It's super fast growing coral, and also brittle, another one of those very brittle. So you can break an arm sized chunk off pretty easily, and you don't want to throw that in the bin, so you put it somewhere else. And that's kind of what's happened, because I've got a colony, pretty major colony there. I've got a colony over there, and then I've got some extra pieces on the far end there, where they're just sort of the lucky ones that get chucked over the end to do something in that corner. SBS wise, this system is realistically majoritively wild SBS. There's a few, sort of bougie named pieces in there, but not a lot, to be honest. Like we talk about like Dustin's cousin, but I wouldn't call that an expensive coral at all. It's pretty, apart from poor Melinda, it's pretty readily available. And definitely not considered anything super exotic.
And alive, Sam.
My kryptonite is alive. I just don't know if it's Dustin's cousin. They just renamed it.
What a weird sentence.
This is true. We're predominantly SBS for sort of 2/3 of the tank across there. I've got a couple of things like the speaking of kryptonite, the kryptonite candy cane in there. There's this Monty that I'll probably trim back behind my Atlantic blue here. That's wondering why the lights are still on. He's a pretty old boy, so he's super confused. I've got a big Space Invader Pectinia down here, which is it's a little bit of a funny story. That one, that was one of the corals that I set out that I wanted in this tank. It was one of the pieces I absolutely had to get, and I got it. And I actually think after my huge speech on my high horse before about not giving coral too much light, I think it was getting too much light.
Right.
And it was just not fluffy. It was like really, it looked like an elderly lady. Like the skin was like draped over the skeleton. It wasn't. It wasn't happy.
Description.
I'm going to walk away from this. I'm not going to say a thing.
So
right.
I had it. It was on the base of the aquarium, but it just was still in direct light. So I actually kind of pushed it under that rock ledge, and it was puffy. It looked much happier. So I was like, great, it can live there. That's fine. And since then, it went from like a tiny nub, like a jelly bean, to a baby's fist into a softball size.
A baby's
since then,
baby's fist.
well, you've got to measure corals.
Yeah.
And since then, now it's decided it wants the light, and it's completely growing out to get into the light.
Yeah. Right.
So, it obviously just wasn't happy with the light at first, but it wants.
So what size is that now? Is that like an orangutan fist? Or
some other unique form of measurement.
Did you see Sam's face when he was laughing at your comment there? He was literally giving you a facial expression of "fuck you, fuck you."
okay. Yeah.
Very funny.
Are they quite rare then to get in Australia? Is that why you wanted them? Or?
Yes, at the point of the inception of this tank, I don't think they were actually in Australia at that point in time. That's one of those corals that I would be 99.9% certain has never been collected in Australian waters, but has found its way into the Australian industry.
Okay.
That was one of the few ones that I said, should it ever make its way here, I would like to put my name
so.
down. I will get in line for that. I'll get a piece. So
when I've seen that lately, it's been between $250 to $300 for a little frag.
Yeah,
it
was
still pricey. It's retained its value.
Yeah. But yeah, it's still not cheap. Yeah,
it does.
But it's a nice coral. I like it.
That's a lot of money for a Pictinia. Like
it is, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes. Yep.
Nice coral, though.
Not everything's cheap in Australia, that's for sure.
No.
But wild SPS absolutely is.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
And that's where
SPS.
So the majority of that is just
that's where the majority of that is, It's fortunate enough to be able to be at my friend's shop most times, or maybe half the time. He's doing an unboxing. And you start to get an appreciation over a few years of the stuff you see, every second week, as opposed to something you see once a year, to something you've never seen before. They're the bits you pick up. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good just because you've never seen it before, but that's the piece I'll take the risk on, because it could go 6 fluoro colors, or it could turn into absolute turd brown. But that's part of the hobby I enjoy. Good example of that is the piece. Actually, I'll try to point to it on camera there. That piece there came in like something I've never seen before. Had crazy, just hints of crazy colors. It was definitely not a bright coral when it came in, but it had these fluoro yellow tips and some streaks of pink and a bit of green. And I'm like, this is the skeleton structure of it was something completely different. I'm like, this is going to be my retirement fund. This thing's going to be crazy. It grows well in my tank. It gets crazy amount of light. It's sitting in like 800 par, and it's grey.
It's an unusual colour. Yeah, I was trying to work out what I would describe that. You're saying grey. Yeah. It's like a dead old woman's skin.
Correct. Pretty much.
Not the retirement you were wanting.
No.
Yeah.
So that's one of those ones that just hasn't worked. But funnily enough, I do occasionally. It's also got a little bit of a brittle skeleton, and occasionally I break a bit off. I've sat some at my local fish shop under those incredible AI blades that are the best light ever, apparently. And I can say that if I put some into his coral tanks there under those blades and leave it there for a month, some of those colours really do start to develop a bit more. So maybe it does like a bit less light. Not sure. It definitely is. It gets great polyp extension. It grows really fast. It's loving life here. I think I need to stress it to get more colour out of it, and that's just not what I do. I think those low nutrient, stressing, bleaching coral days are gone. Dosing copper into your system, things like that. It's not the look I'm going for, but I think that's exactly the sort of coral that would look incredible in those conditions.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, cool. Is that your scape? Is that so grown out? I can't see any rock at all, really. But is that one just a long spine of rock, or are they bommies? Or
it is actually 2 pieces. So this far end here is sort of loosely one arch that comes forward, and then the other piece back here is a second arch that they sort of cross over. So you end up with a diagonal valley between them.
Oh, so there is a space there, is there?
There is, yeah. To be fair, coral has breached.
I was going to say, because it just looks continuous.
You look from that angle and squint your eye.
If I look from where I am sitting here, I can see through to the back wall through there. But and that is a bit of a highway for the fish, but it's connected by a coral top and bottom, so it's only a tunnel through there.
Right.
It's very effective. Very.
It's worked out well.
So what fish have we got in there then, Sam? There's a lot of movement. Very nice.
There is a bit of movement. I'm just actually curiously watching all my chromis here.
You got your mate's famous fish in there, yeah, chromis.
Love them.
Your mate Lee loves them.
He does. And I'm just watching them all work out where they're going to spawn. So they're working out which coral they want to strip back to lay their eggs on. So that's always fun. But
not that one, not that one.
They can do it on that. That's all right. Chromis, love-hate relationship with them. I do think they make a reef tank, particularly an SBS reef tank. Whether it's Chromis, I wouldn't go damsels, but some other small schooling fish, if you got better luck with Anthias, they would work well too. You need something that can swim through big branches of staghorns and things. That to me gives a visual
natural
thing that just
look.
can't be beaten. Yeah. Absolutely. And even as much as I jest about them in here, working out where they're going to sleep for the night and sporting on corals, it's not great for the corals, but it does look awesome when the fish do it. So, that's what happens in the wild. So be it. Can't pick and choose when we want to replicate nature and when we don't. We can try, but it doesn't always work that way. So Chromis, I seem to have Midas touch with Chromis. I never seem to, well, I shouldn't say never, I'll touch some wood. I rarely seem to lose Chromis. Other people seem to have them drop off. They just kill each other off. This school of Chromis I had from my previous tank, and I had them for the lifespan of that tank. So I've had them now for 11 years.
That is
I think in that time.
crazy. I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
That is bonkers.
Yeah.
It's a long lifespan for a small fish, isn't it?
Isn't it?
I think I've replenished maybe 3 or 4 of them in that time.
Yeah,
that's probably
a good financial investment for one of the rare things in this hobby. You're going to pay probably one of the cheapest fish on the market, and you're going to get 11 years out of it.
Yeah,
I think they look great.
They're not looking at slowing down either. That's the love side of them. The hate side of them is they can actually be pretty aggressive.
They can,
and not just to each other, to literally every other fish in the tank, even Atlantic blues and purple tangs and gem tangs. They will absolutely go to town fighting any of those fish that come around any of the spots they're picking to go to sleep in. So that's a nightly ritual that they go through, but thankfully they don't have a lot of firepower. They get all angry and swoosh about, but unless it's a new super delicate fish, the purple tang doesn't really give two hoots if they're getting angry with it.
Yeah.
Which is probably a good segue. So I got Chromis. I did have a reasonable school of Anthias. In my previous tank, I had really good luck with lyre-tail Anthias. I had a great school of those that kept alive, no issues. One male, I think it was about 9 females. Beautiful school, looked great. I have not been able to replicate the same success with Anthias in this system. I have tried a few different Anthias. I've got some sort of remnants of those. I've got a bicolor Anthia there, a Cooper's Anthia there.
A couple,
and I think there is still a lyre-tail in there somewhere as well. They're the 3 different types I've tried, and I've ended up with sort of one of each. Actually, the lyre-tail's up the far end there. So, the Midas touch with schooling fishes run out there, but I will try some Anthias again.
The colour on lyre-tail Anthias tends to drop off slightly. So when I bought mine, they were like fruit salad colour. They were unbelievable colour. They're a bit bland now.
Yeah. Well, the one I've got left is fairly bland. I will say the one bicolor Anthia I've got left is still gorgeous. This one, stunning fish. That's
maybe they just wait to get older today. Lyre-tails, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not
the males
not sure.
They hold their colour, but the females have just turned into. I mean, the kids that come into the shop and point at the tank think they're goldfish.
Goldfish,
they're not interested in them at all. Because then the lemon peel angel comes out behind a rock and they're like, oh, what is that?
I mean, they're a little bit like Chromis. Yeah. I mean, Chromis have got nice colour, but I sort of view Chromis and Anthias as a little bit like they're not meant to be the fish that gets your attention. They're meant to set the stage for your other fish.
Yeah.
Like a dither fish, aren't they? Like give movement.
Yeah. They create the sort of the busy movement that lets your showpiece fish stand out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm sure. Don't get me wrong. Anthias in particular, there's some ridiculously nice Anthias out there that could absolutely be your showfish. Purple greens are gorgeous. There's heaps. There's some stunners out there.
My favourite coloured fish is a Fiji male Anthia. It's
nice.
So stunning. and I've never
Yes.
ever seen it. I've only ever had one, and I've never ever been able to find a second one.
Oh, well, we'll set that challenge then.
Yep.
Other fish-wise, if we keep on the small fish theme, I'm not sure where he's gone now, but I've got a long-nosed hawkfish. I've got a flame hawkfish. Love those guys. Give a great little bit of personality. Did have a pair of flame hawks, but my male was one that carried over from my old system. He was getting pretty old, so I think he just ran out of tickets for the days. So I've just got the one female in. Well, I think she's female. I'm going to assume she is. In the system, what else have I got? I've got one clownfish left. I did have a pair of clowns, and they've been great. They were the first fish that went into this system, bred by a nice couple here in Australia from coastal clownfish. I had absolutely no idea why I lost my female. She was in the system for like 3 years, and then just one day turned up dead. I'm gonna suspect that maybe she did bump into a chromis the wrong time. That's who I'm blaming, because no one else cared at all about the clowns, and they didn't really venture far from around this Goni. But the chromis do pick their spots all around there, and maybe in the wrong place, wrong time. So I'll replace the female at some stage. I think small fish that... Oh, I completely forgot. I've got a pair of scooter Blennies in here, and a pair of mandarins. The scooter Blennies not so cryptic, quite busy. The mandarins are... when I just had one, he was very sociable, be out all the time. Since I paired them up, very rarely see them. They are absolute love rats. They barely ever come out of their...
Do they come out when your lights ramp down? They don't do any courtship displays or anything?
They don't, no. Okay. They follow each other around, but I haven't seen them do the dance yet.
Okay.
You very rarely see... You might see... in fact, just before I was looking at the tank to see if I could see them, and I thought it was just the logo on my T-shirt here reflecting in the glass. And then I sort of covered my logo. And I was like, oh no, there is some movement there. And in the shadows, I could see one mandarin go, then the second mandarin followed it. Super cryptic fish, but that's all right. They're in there. They're both alive. If I see them both alive once a month, I'm happy. One other fish just went around the back.
There.
Sorry?
Is that a pink spot goby I saw?
No, it could have been my sand perch that you saw.
Okay. I saw something go along the front of the glass and then round the corner.
Yes, that would be the sand perch. He's a strange fish. He's one of those ones that I didn't really do any sort of research on. I saw him and asked my mate, and I'm like, "Will this be right in my tank?" He's like, "Yeah, of course." I put him in the tank, and he has been great. So that was a good story. But I still know almost nothing about him other than he does love to eat snails. If I'm cleaning the glass, he follows the magnet cleaner. And I mean, like, he'll sit on the magnet cleaner if I stop for a second, just waiting for me to... Because I'm a little bit lazy. I'll bulldoze Trocus off the front of the glass with the magnet cleaner, and he'll eat them before they hit the sand. He's crazy. So, apart from eating snails, super cool fish. He's like a lawnmower Blenny on steroids. The personality is amplified. Very, very cool. I think smallish fish, that's probably everything. Going on to medium-sized fish. Probably my big draw card is my hybrid angel just up the far end there.
It's gorgeous.
It's a nice fish.
He's a nice fish. I've had him for a long time. I think about 9 years now I've had him. Bought him off a reefer over in Adelaide. That is actually a funny story. I was up in the roof running some John Guest line to add more auto water changes when I had multiple tanks running, and I'm like, I never want to do... I'll just put, one line in, one line out. That's all I'll ever need. And then I added another tank, so I have to run a line from this tank to that tank, and then another tank, and constantly up on the roof running John Guest lines. And I would have been doing it some silly time in summer, and it would have been like 65 degrees Celsius on the roof. So I was just pausing for a second just to make sure I didn't pass out, and I was having a look at my phone, and I I saw that angel for sale in Adelaide, which is about a 10-hour drive from here. And while I was in the roof, I messaged them and said, "Yeah, is it available?" They're like, "Yep." And I'm like, "Cool, I'll grab it." Any chance you can meet me a little bit this way? Like, if you could drive an hour or two this way, that'd be huge help.
8 hours is better. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, "Yep, we'll come. We'll meet you." I can't remember what the town was, but yeah, they basically drove 2 hours their way. I left at some ridiculous time. I think I left at maybe like 2 a.m. Here. I met them at 10 a.m. there. They had incredible setup. They had a bucket, like a 20-litre salt bucket of water with a fish in it, with a battery air pump mounted on the lid, so the water was staying oxygenated, and a second bucket of water that I could change the fish over to halfway, just in case he'd soiled the water or anything, or I'd spilt it or something.
Wow.
Super cool. Impressive setup. So got all that and put it in the car, made sure the temperature was about right. Did change the water halfway just to make sure all good, or change the fish into the other bucket, I guess. Put the lid with the battery air pump on it. So I left there about 10 a.m. So yeah, got up at 2 a.m., got there at 10 a.m., got home about 6:30 p.m., was acclimating the fish, working on about 2 hours sleep and, like 16 hours of driving. And this fish had been very delicately handled and everything. And then I dropped it on the floor and had about 6 go to try and pick him up.
Oh, brilliant. I love it. Yes.
I was a little bit tired.
Cat ran in, ate it.
Yeah, he flapped about on the floor a bit while I was trying to pick him up without standing on him. And
so annoying when they do that. Yeah.
You are
very annoying.
Sick man, Sam.
Wow. Just the idea of going 10 hours to pick up that's like me buying a fish in Germany somewhere. I'm just going to nip to Berlin and pick up a fish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it was a long drive, and it's a pretty boring drive too. There's not a lot of towns. They're all very small towns.
Sell your country, Sam. Sell it. So it's the most amazing drive. It's a tropical forest.
It's definitely not tropical. You're heading off towards desert.
10 hours of shit.
I love that Rob said that's like me driving to Germany. He just didn't think it's Scotland.
No one drives north.
Nope.
So that's my hybrid angel. Had him for many years now. Great fish. Is absolutely not reef safe. Does eat coral all day, every day.
Interesting.
Thankfully,
really? What, SPS?
Yeah.
Just polyp.
Everything.
Right.
Everything. Thankfully, mostly SPS, which doesn't really kill the SPS. Pulls the polyps in, 10 seconds later, puts the polyps back out again. Occasionally, he gets an interest in an LPS, which is not so forgiving. But, so be it. I
suppose it's all right if they graze. You want them to kind of graze across, don't you? So if it picks on one consistently, then it's going to kill it.
I think if you had him like in a 2-foot cube, you'd probably wipe the coral out pretty good. But I once went to a reefer's house to help him out with a tank, and he had this old dog there. I think it was like a bloodhound or something, and it was chewing on his like screwdriver. And I was like, "Oh, Mario, do you want to get the screwdriver off your dog?" And he's like, "Yeah, she's a good dog. I can get another screwdriver."
Just fair enough.
And it's kind of like that with Prius. My angel, I'm like, when I did have some issues with my hammers over here, and I suspected he was nipping on them, people are like, "Oh, you'll have to take the angel out." I'm like, "No, I just won't have hammers. Like this is his tank."
It's good.
It's the way it is,
Yeah,
it's a good attitude to have.
Yeah, I've had him longer than my daughter's been alive, so I wouldn't just go, "Oh, well, she's not interested in football anymore. Well, we'll get rid of her."
Off you go. Yeah.
Give her a screwdriver to chew on.
If it keeps her happy. No. So that's. I would prefer he didn't eat my coral, but if he does, he does. These things happen. Then you get onto some of the bigger fish, probably all the tangs. So I've got a purple tang, gem tang, Atlantic blue. There is a mustard tang who is all out of sorts because the lights are still on. he came past before looking like a ghost.
He did. I noticed that.
Which he was giving you the fin. It just went past. Turn them lights off.
He was all confused. Yeah, he came past, and I'm like, "What is wrong with you?" I think he's waiting for bed. There he goes. He looks a bit better now, but
say it's over there. Yeah.
He's still pale. He's normally a lot richer than that. He's got no yellow showing whatsoever, so he's a mustard-free mustard.
Just backing into a dark hole. Lights off, mate.
trying to find some nighttime. I think that's all the big fish. Gem, purple, mustard, Atlantic. Yeah. Yeah, so
I find it surprising you picked a gem and a purple tank because they are very similar fish.
Yeah, to be fair, the purple I've had for a long time. Came from my last system. The gem was new into this system. I always wanted a gem. I agree between the purple, the mustard, and the gem. There's not a lot of difference between the three of them, but it sort of works.
Yeah. Your tank, have what you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got no RAS in there? No
RAS is something I have had zero luck with. I suspect the chromis. I don't know that, but I just don't have luck with RAS yet. So that is something that I would like to change in future.
Sam blames a lot of shit on him chromis, doesn't he?
I do.
He does.
Yeah.
I absolutely do.
Just got nicked for speeding. Bloody chromis.
Bloody chromis, exactly. It's to the point now, though, where I am actually ready to pull these chromis out. Because they are so mature, they are very actively breeding. I need to rehome those guys and get a school of some younger ones that aren't quite so territorial, and then maybe try some RAS again.
How would you go about extracting those chromis, Sam?
With a lot of luck.
Yeah.
Just wet vac them straight out.
When I have had to catch fish out of here before, and I put my trap in, I mean, it's always Murphy's Law, but I end up with, I think I've got 20 chromis in here.
The one you want.
Well, I reckon about 18 of the 20 chromis are the first things in the trap. And then the last two will go in still before the fish I want to catch. That being said, I think when I actually do catch and remove the first, say, dozen chromis, the next 8 will probably wisen up and be a lot harder to catch. But they're very food orientated, so a little bit of food in that trap, and
it makes it
they
easy,
go in.
Yeah.
I don't want to say they're an easy fish to catch because I've never caught them before, other than when I drained the old system and there was that much water in here. I'm hoping they'll be easy to catch.
So you think they're just killing your RAS then?
They are super, super aggressive to every fish. The big guys don't care whatsoever. The existing smaller guys are fine. Things like the mandarins, scooter blennies and stuff, they don't bother them because they stay low and the chromis are all settling up in here. But if I have a RAS RAS just tend to
just go all over the tank.
Forage. They just got to go around and pick at the rock, and if they go near the chromis, they'll go berserk at them. And if you're a new, and to be fair, the RAS I've tried have been pretty sensitive RAS. And they get absolutely their tail handed to them. Yeah, I don't think it helps. I think it just builds the stress, and they don't eat, and then it's game over. So I might be on the completely wrong path, but it's something I will try. I think I'll take the chromis out, get some young ones in there, and then try a couple of RAS.
Do you hear your chromis clicking when they're breeding?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember it well when I had my tank at home, because I had the 7x2x2 at my house and then moved it up here because we're here all day, every day. And I remember the clicking when the breeding was starting, and they were so aggressive.
I reckon they sound like episode 1, Star Wars, when they do the pod racing. There's one pod racer in that sounds exactly like a chromis when it goes past. They're like goes go, 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 go. Yeah, and I'm like, that's the bloody chromis. Yeah. I get PTSD from it. I watch the movie and I start rocking in the chair because I'm like, there's chromis.
That's another Rascon.
Yeah.
Bloody George Lucas must have gone through the same thing.
That's it. Yeah, one of his techs obviously got a tank.
So are there any other fish you wanted to add or add back?
Yes, there is one more that most definitely will not come out right now. Oh, there's a couple more that I've got like a file fish and stuff in there, but one of my favorites at the moment is my marine beta. She, I've had her now for about a little bit over 2 years. I barely saw her for a year and a quarter. Super cryptic fish, and it's only been the last 6 or 8 months that she's just started to come out for food, and now the last 3 months, I'd say, very sociable fish now. Every time I come up to the tank, she comes out. I see her sort of doing laps of the tank every now and then. It's a very long, slow process. Yeah,
it does make you wonder what the social aspect of the fish, what makes that change happen. So has one fish died, or has another fish decided to change sleeping, or?
No idea. She used to sort of see me and disappear into the rocks. Like if I would sort of almost come from the entrance of the house and just sort of crack the door open and have a look in, I might see her, and as soon as she cottons on to me, just into the rock, and I couldn't even see her in the rock. And she's a big marine beta, but she has finally now got to the point where she comes out. Of course, now she's not, because schedules all over the place. But
tank tours do fuck with people's tanks. It's infamous. After a tank tour, before a tank tour, there's normally a disaster. So best of luck with that, Sam.
It'll be fine. It gave me a good excuse to do a cleanup, so it should be the best thing for it.
Good lad.
Your weir at the back, is that a box? Doesn't go right.
It is,
down.
yes.
It's a box, right? Okay.
That's a box, an internal box with an external box.
Oh, okay, right.
So it's there's 3 holes drilled through the tank, and the 2 boxes kind of sandwiched together, like they're basicly bulkheads with 2 acrylic boxes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So can that come off or not?
You would need to drain the water below that.
You don't sound convinced. Oh, okay. So you can't just pull it off. Because I've got one in mind. I can literally just pull the inside box off, and it just leaves the 2 bulkheads. Right. Okay.
No. I wish, but no. Would make cleaning it much easier.
Yeah.
Sam, I'm conscious of your time. That's 2.5 hours we've been going, but I just want to say, do you have future plans at all, or is this still the dream tank?
Yes, this is the dream tank. There is no plans to replace this tank for another, probably another 8 years, I'd say, is the timeline I'm looking at on this system. But that's not to say there's not plans for it. We've talked about a couple of those, about pulling chromis out, just to get some less territorial chromis. I would also like to pull out my foxface, who we did skip past. He's another fish that's definitely hidden in the maybe hidden from the howling of the dogs. No, he's hidden with the lights out. But I did have a standard foxface that I got off a buddy that had a friend of mine had this foxface for I think about 8 years. And then I got him off him, and I had him in my previous tank, and in this tank we've had him forever. And he did eventually pass. So he would have been in captivity for probably like 25 years or something. Wow. In the end when he finally passed. So I'm fairly safe to say that I think he just passed of old age. I've since added another foxface to this system. He's been not as good. He's been a little territorial. I did attempt to add a magnificent foxface after him, which is unfortunate. I should have added him at the same time. Didn't go down well, so I had to take the magnificent foxface out. I would like to either move this foxface into a holding system for a little while and then introduce him with a magnificent, or just swap him with someone else and put 2 foxface in at the same time, just because I have a little bit of bubble algae. I
was going to say, is that because you want them to deal with a problem, and it's bubble algae?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not gospel, but it's pretty common understanding around here that magnificent foxface are reasonable at bubble algae control. I say reasonable. Here in Australia, we can't import any inverts. So
you can't get the emerald crabs.
Can't get emerald crabs and some of the other inverts that are natural predators of bubble algae. We can't get. So for our standards, they're pretty good at controlling bubble algae. There's in other parts of the world, I'm sure you guys have got much better options. So a little bit of fish changing, with chromis, foxface. I definitely want to try some wrasse again. Hopefully, with better luck this time.
Yeah.
And
is there a stripe down there at the moment?
I was going to say
there's not a stripey.
No.
Actually, I do have one in the Sump. You may have seen it. You went past. We did have the camera on once. I've got one in the Sump at the moment, but no, we'll like to add another baby in here. I've got a good few thousand Aptasia in there that
because he's just big.
Big, and once they get big, they start eating corals. So
okay, so just move them on.
Yeah. Move them on to bigger systems or fish-only systems.
Frying
pan. Add another little stripey in.
Did you say frying pan?
I think you can eat them, can't you?
Oh, no point.
I'm sure
the waste.
I'm sure you could. I can't tell you what they taste like, but I'm sure you could.
Sam, I've also got a.
Yes.
Sorry, I've also got a question from Koji. I don't know how to say his name. And his question is, with all the setups Sam has seen, will be interesting to get his thoughts on the number one thing he sees that he advises people not to do, and the number one thing he sees that everybody should do. What are your top tips?
Wow.
Luckily, this is the only question we have from the outside audience. I fielded questions like an hour before this started.
So many top tips that you should do. The one that I've learnt most recently, and I sort of did it a little bit, but I'm doing it a lot more now, is to somewhat frequently blow the detritus off your rock and coral. It's something I sort of half-assed did with the turkey baster that we saw down in the Sump once every 3 or 4 months before. And over the last couple of years of seeing some really good tanks, I'd noticed that all of those really good tanks had a theme where they were much, much more diligent, where they used a lot more force, not a turkey baster, but they used a big pump, and they would do it weekly or every second week. So I don't think that's the number one tip, but to me, that's the number one tip because that's something I've not really done before, and that's something that I have adopted this year. As for things not to do, where do you start? Man, there's so many things not to do. So many things not to do. Probably, I guess I've had to say the number one is we know in this hobby there are a million ways to achieve success, and it's probably a billion different forms of success. Because there are so many different ways to achieve so many different goals, there's not one that is right and one that is wrong. Where you can run into trouble is when you try to take a little bit of theory A and a little bit of theory B and mush them together and expect it to work. Particularly if you're new, if you're experienced in the hobby, and it doesn't make it any easier, but you have a little bit more of a trained eye of what to look out for when things are going wrong, you can try that. But if you are newer to the hobby, I would find someone, whether it be your local fish shop or a local reefer, even if it's someone online, that has the sort of tank that you're aspiring to have, similar size, similar biotopes, similar sort of corals, similar equipment. Follow their advice, follow their methodologies. They've beaten the path. It'd be silly not to follow it. Is there other ways you could run it? Absolutely, but if you've got a blueprint there, I would follow it.
Yeah, lots of ways to run a tank, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And I think even individual, two people could have the same methodology. One would work better than the other, just because everyone has subtle differences in what they do. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
You all right, Ron? Was he boring you?
No, sorry. I needed a piss. Dog needed a piss. Everybody needed a piss.
You have to piss together.
Well, yeah,
you piss buddies.
While I'm up. You know what I mean? Sorry, you were asking questions from Discord members, Melinda. Is there anybody else?
No, that was it. I only asked an hour before we started. I gave them plenty of notice while they were on the piss.
Yeah, they were all out for a proper big night last night. Yeah.
Nice.
So, any other questions for Sam, you pair?
No, I think we've about... Is that in the corner? Is that an algae magnet?
Yeah, how did you get it back there? Flip up
over here.
This, yeah.
Yeah, in that back corner.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Oh, you can reach through there.
Oh,
I was thinking that was against the wall.
I do have. Oh, you can't quite see on camera there. I'll tilt this way. Hang on.
You do have a
so
space.
I do have access in here, and I do have a cabinet in here which holds all sort of little trinkets in there.
Right. Okay.
But it is only a narrow gap there. I did deliberately leave that so I could access that side of the tank.
Yeah.
Good plan.
Easier. Yeah.
Sam, are you coming up to Fragorama?
I hope so. I don't have plans concrete just yet, but I am definitely hoping so. Yes.
Now that he knows you're going, Melinda, it's a no.
Yes.
Going.
I've got to sort the chromus out. Sorry, I can't make it.
I definitely do plan on being there. Just got to. I've got a few things circling in the calendar. I just need to solidify some of these plans.
Oh, sorry. When's Lee coming? Isn't that May?
Oh, no idea yet.
Okay.
Depends how
he could be here for
boat takes. He's rowing over, isn't he?
He might go around in circles if he rows.
I was about yeah, we were all thinking it.
we were.
No, because I was chatting to him a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying that when he comes across, he's hoping to duck in and see Gallery Aquatica, and I'm going, you do know that there's 2,000 kilometres between Sam and Gallery.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh, we'll get on the plane. And I'm just like, 2,000 kilometres between.
Yeah, you get north of England geography, and then you get Australia. It's very, very.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah, that's just not an afternoon day trip. That's a couple of days.
Yeah,
it's like driving 10 hours. I don't think there's anyone in the UK, if there was a fish for sale and it was 10 hours away, you ain't
would I
fish.
fuck? No chance.
That's what I mean. You're not buying that fish, are you? You might as well be on Mars.
Yes, but I mean, I can go from the east coast to the west coast of Scotland in an hour and a half.
But you still don't.
Yeah.
No, I do not.
That would be handy.
Yeah.
What probably helps, I don't live in a capital city. I'm about an hour out of Melbourne. So I'm pretty familiar with any major event or show or activity is normally in Melbourne. So we're very familiar with at least an hour each way. You want to do something, it's an hour away.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm the same with Brisbane.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, Sam, I just want to thank you so much for this. It's been such a good laugh, and your system is quite the inspiration.
It is. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
And the most impressive thing about it all is actually, I think it's your attitude and your approach to reefing in general. I think it's really refreshing to hear you say some of the things you've said. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Very much.
I appreciate that. I definitely was taken back by your reefing royalty comment to start, because I honestly don't feel have any claim to that title whatsoever. I'm just same as anyone else out there with a reef tank. We all learn through this hobby together, and we all make mistakes, and we all do our best to make it work. So
to disagree with you, I know a lot of really bad reefers.
Yeah.
Realistically, the only difference is I'm silly enough to put myself on YouTube every week and share the successes and the failures I've had. So it's no different to what people go through in their lounge rooms without YouTube recording.
No, turn around. Not everybody has that in their lounge room. Like, that is gorgeous.
Look, it's a nice system. I'm not taking anything away from that, but there's no individual piece of knowledge or anything that I've put into this. It's been things I've learned from the entire community and a lot of very helpful people over the last 10, 15 years that has definitely helped lead me to this position. So it's a community.
Certainly interesting to hear how hard you are to convince to try something new. No, that's crap. That's shit. Yeah. I don't want that.
Default position, shit.
You're not moving across the column in my spreadsheet of shit until you've proven otherwise. Listen, Sam, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much. And we will see you on the next one, everybody. Thanks, Rob and Melinda.
Thank you.
Thank
you a pleasure. So cheers, Sam.
Yeah, thank you
Thanks,
very
everyone.
much.
See ya.
But right in between all three corals, right in the central point of a triangle, this white patch started on the rock and it just grew up all three colonies. Oh, what was that?
Why is it love hearts? You just with your fingers again. You've got something set up with the love hearts. No, you do the triangle.
What?
I don't know. You're doing something with the triangle of the corals, and then love hearts started flying. I don't know. No one's gonna believe us. Oh, what the fuck?
Anyway, yeah. So this.
Here I go again. I'm crying, laughing every time I get in these streams.
Because Rob is so stubborn, he won't just put his mic closer to his mouth, so he turns his mic up to 5,000. Fucking hell!
Take that, you slag.
Oh! At that. Boobies!
Very good.
Hey!
It's a little bit,
How did I get love hearts? What is it I do?
I don't know. How did you do it? You're doing something with your hand. There it is! Mine doesn't work.
How did I get a whole load of cocks?
Is it?
I don't think they do cocks.
Yeah. Cock. Be impressed if they brought something up, actually.
Morning, Sam.
Yeah.
Oh. So it's only us three, isn't it? And Sam.
Yes.
It is.
Is that?
Oh, yeah, you boys are going to have to carry me.
He's signing
Fuck.
in. He's signing in under his wife's name, Anna. Unless, is he a cross-dresser? Let's find out.
Should they say anal?
Nope. We just go through how you got into the hobby in the first place. Your journey through... Somebody's fucking phoning me. Go away.
Fuck off.
Fuck off. Right.
Superb customer service.
Oh no, I don't get external calls. I'm banned from that.
You're not allowed. You're not allowed to talk to the customers.
I'm internal only.
I didn't realise how old you were, Melinda.
Fuck you.
You want to get this out the way first, guys?
How old I am. Lovely. Mother trucker.
How long would it take a little envelope of anthrax to get to Rob, Melinda?
I actually watched your tank tour this afternoon, Rob, and I pressed like. I'm going back and removing that fucker.
Nice to know when I can hit a nerve. I'm just making up for last night because I got slaughtered all night because I was the eldest person in the group of like 20 reefers.
No, I have said that I'm older than you and Ron. I'm younger than Lee, and I'm younger than John B.
You're not older than me.
I am older than you, aren't I?
Don't think so.
Oh, don't think so. Do you know how old?
Look at Ron, you slag. You got a fucking carbon date, Rob, to get an age.
I thought you were 48.
It's just not physically possible.
Did you just say 48?
Okay.
I
thought he was.
I had
Who,
10.
me?
Oh, okay, I'm younger than you. I'm 50 this year.
I'm 60 this year.
Oh, fucking old.
Thank you. That's a better response.
Sorry, Sam. This is welcome to ReefyAF.
You're right. Exactly. No. I knew what I was in for. Don't worry.
Well, see, I record right from the very, very start because there's always so much comedy gold. I then carve that up and put it in at the end and call it shenanigans. So that's death going in.